The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk, episode number 627, Alchemy of Chaos. It is May 24th, 2023. We are live to tape. I am from California, and my name is Gonz. Director of the Age of Deceit films. Wife calls me the Cabana Boy, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. To bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with the well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's immersion phenomena. Tragedy. When the absurdity that is things happening in the world continue to hit us in waves over and over and over again, it's really not helpful for the stability of our souls, you know? So if you know somebody going through stuff like that, share this particular episode with them, and, you know, maybe they can find a community of people that just sort of has this hope, right? The peace of God that surpasses all understanding. That's what it says in Philippians 4:7. And that despite all the craziness that's going on, we're kind of looking at it. I think people that look at biblical eschatology, believers out there, followers of Jesus Christ, are the only people that see all the craziness and they're like, yep, it's about right. It's right on schedule there, you know? So we're a unique bunch, but I feel that there are people out there who need a community like this more than ever. Of course, we're here to just bring you all the craziness going on. But before we dive in too deep, I do have a quick disclaimer.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
We're definitely live as we speak here. Quick rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Oh man, it's going to be a blitz of chaos. We have an apparent AI-generated hoax that there was an explosion at the Pentagon. It went viral. It caused market dips. It's happening, folks. And then just, all the stuff going on. We got the bill for a federal agency, basically an AI council that monitors behavior and creates disinformation experts. What can go wrong? All at the same time, we got the 60,000 pounds of explosive chemicals that was lost. It just disappeared. Why are they reporting on it? Then we also have the Senate, who were issued satellite phones. Yeah, it's sci-fi world. Welcome. Then we have the FDA warning and making fun of truthers with their mocking of the cyber pandemic or internet going down campaign there. And then, of course, to top it off with, this is just a hook, folks. Man accused of ramming U-Haul into barriers near White House praised Hitler after his arrest. Is praising Hitler. If you haven't seen what the guy looks like, it might confuse you a little bit. But then we have a Flippy update. Yeah, we'll get into it when we get there. It's just another Flippy update with the robot arm. Then, of course, we have DeSantis announcing his 2024 run on Twitter with Elon Musk. The world is a-changing, that's for sure. And, of course, Florida, a terrorist state. And then a little bit more about the elections. People are saying that the whole thing is rigged, and they're about to rig it again in 2024. Then we'll touch on Brazil. Klaus Schwab visited Brazil, so we'll touch on what he was doing there and what he was saying. And then, of course, Disease X. The next pandemic is coming. And it's scarier. It's even deadlier than before. Then we'll talk about how everyone's going to stay inside and hang out in the Metaverse. China announcing their Metaverse. What else? Oh, yeah, of course. There's an escape to other planets, allegedly. AI voice therapy. The whole mind control, mental health thing. It's a huge theme that we've been seeing a wave of recently. And, of course, Joe Biden will top off the show at the end, talking about the silly balloons. But before we get into the hook, I do have a quick message from your best buddy and normal co-host of every episode here. I think he's been gone for like 4 or 5 now. Basil.
Hey everybody, your best buddy Basil here with another appendix update. That's right, the rumors are true. I am back at the compound. I eventually was discharged from the hospital. This was about a day ago, maybe 2 days ago. I don't know. I've always had such a loose association with the flow of time, so who's to say? But good news and bad news. Good news is I'm home I'm on antibiotics, still flowing, trying to keep everything nice and infection-free. As far as they noted, my white blood cell count was not perfect, and the abscess was not completely disappeared, but the old doctors figured that I could just finish it out at home. Now, I've been home for maybe 36 hours or so, which feels very nice. I have some help, some friends and such who are keeping me fed and keeping the animals fed. It is still extremely hard to move around, which is what I'm supposed to be doing, is getting up, walking around as much as possible, doing my little breathing exercises, things like that. As you can tell, my voice is still fairly weak. And the pain, although subsided significantly from its peak, is still around, still a little debilitating. But I'm home, and I have a follow-up appointment tomorrow, I think, with the surgeon to check and see if everything's going well. I do still have a tube. I have a tube coming out of my belly. I have some sort of cyborg appendage coming out of my belly, which is allegedly draining bad stuff out, making room for the good stuff. I don't know. It's really very inconvenient and a little gross. But, we have to choose joy in moments like this. So I wanted to give everybody this little update. I'm not going to be able to be back on the show probably all this week. A large a large bit of that is because I cannot really sit in one place for as long as it would take to do the show. And speaking is not only difficult and painful, but also a sort of temporary skill. I can only speak for like a few minutes at a time. But I'm excited. The countdown begins. The countdown to the end of appendix. Oh no, this is what I get for not being on air for so long. Appendix-ocalypse. Yeah, not as catchy as I'd hoped, but we'll get there. Thank you again, Gons, for keeping the show going. Champion. Everybody knows Gons is the champion of podcasting. While he's moving and with a casualty on the podcast host battlefield. But we're all very proud of you, Gons. And thank you to all the producers as well. Not just who continue to support the show financially, but also who are praying for me and the show. Big shout out to the Northern Ireland group praying for me. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody for your well wishes. Keep them coming, baby. Keep them coming. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Maybe I should comment on something. No. Yes, from The Atlantic. The first social media babies are growing up, and they're horrified. Yes, your children are horrified. This is the first generation growing up where their parents had posted everything about their childhood online, and now they're coming into the workforce and finding it horrific that everybody can watch their videos about them being spoiled Christmas brats or their potty training woes or things like that. And it's actually affecting their ability to get jobs and hold healthy social relationships, things like this, and eventually become completely estranged from their parents, or in this case, their mother, who had done all of the social media posting about them. I think this has some... We all saw this coming. I mean, this is not an entirely unique observation that children growing up with their entire developmental cycles being posted on the internet, that there would be some sort of consequence to that. Turns out there is, and it's debilitating. So this is not only sort of a product of what we all love to hate, which is surveillance capitalism, surveillance governance, the panopticon, and the commoditizing of every single moment of our lives. But also, there's parents out there, they're doing a lot of posting of their kids online. This is going to drastically affect their adulthood. So, I hate to say it, but just quit it. Quit it. I know we've got a lot of parents who listen to the show, and a lot of people do things like, cover their children's faces if they post something or whatnot. But seems like when everybody around every corner is armed with a video camera or a phone, that it's almost impossible to avoid showing up on the internet. So I recommend everybody start wearing a virtual reality headset with googly eyes 24/7, despite the glares and confused glances in public. Give it a try. It's not so crazy now, is it? That's what I thought. All right, everybody. I hope that you have a wonderful time listening to this show. And Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I hope... I'm already running out of breath. I hope to be back to the show next week at some point. So this has been your appendixocalypse update from me, your best buddy Basil. And remember to think outside the appendix.
All right. Thanks for that note, Basil. Good to hear you're back at your palace and resting, just relaxing. Although I'm sure with the way the amount of stuff that's in the news right now, I'm sure he is just itching to get back on. I mean, today's one of those episodes where the craziness level is definitely it's up to 11. It's past 10. It's 11. All right. Okay. Let's get into it. Deepfakes.
We are in deepfake.
Definitely in deepfake, and also AI.
Artificial intelligence.
This is sort of the culmination of everything. It's a watershed moment, another step, another brick in the dystopian wall. The headline here: an apparently AI-generated hoax of an explosion at the Pentagon went viral online, and markets briefly flipped. This was back on Monday. We were doing the show. it didn't catch me, but we're reporting on it now. Here's what it says: a fake image of an explosion near the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. may have been created by artificial intelligence tools. May have been? What do you mean may have been? If it's not AI, then what? Photoshop? Is Photoshop considered AI now? I don't know. That's just a weird way to start the article here. But that didn't stop it from being spread by dozens of accounts on social media, and the stock market briefly dipped as the fake news spread. An image appearing to show a massive cloud of smoke near a building and claimed that there had been an explosion near the Pentagon started circulating on Twitter early Monday. I didn't see it. I don't know. Weird. But the image and associated claims were fake, the Arlington Police Department said. Okay. Quote, there is no explosion or incident taking place at or near the Pentagon reservation, and there is no immediate danger or hazards to the public, the Arlington PD tweeted Monday. And they show the tweet there. While it hasn't been confirmed whether the image was made using AI tools, that's like the whole headline here. It does feature some of the hallmarks of AI-generated images. The column of the on the supposed building in the hoax photo vary in size, for example, and the fence appears to blend into the sidewalk in some places. Okay, yeah, maybe that's some AI tendencies. The photo was spread by dozens of accounts on social media, including RT. Oh, it's RT. It's Russia. See? Russia. A Russian state media Twitter account with more than 3 million followers, but the post has since been deleted. Most other accounts that retweeted the image appear to be affiliated with conspiracies or the war in Ukraine. Yes. So, yeah, pretty interesting. Some takeaways from this. First off, the market's dipping is very fascinating because it's on full display for everyone to see the power of quote unquote deepfakes, especially in the age of social media and the internet. If you have a fairly credible-ish sounding or looking source, that says something or shares something, if it's accidentally picked up by a, quote unquote mainstream source, it could spread pretty quickly, and financial, economic decisions can be made based on that information, seeing the markets, sell off a little bit and then, coming back, obviously. But it's just a great example of how this actually affects the real world. And when you're talking about the most powerful effect, it's got to be economic. It's what we're seeing now. It's the entire economic system being under tremendous pressure of the changes taking place, the technology coming into place. And there's also another angle to this because, with deepfakes and AI generated hoaxes and all this stuff, the whole thing could be a false flag, in my opinion, because all of a sudden we had Sam Altman recently go in to a Senate committee hearing and testifying and basically saying, hey, we need AI regulation, even saying like, hey, you got to put restrictions on AI, even my projects. He's the guy doing ChatGPT and WorldCoin with the giant orb that scans your eyeball and to prove you're human. Those people, they're the ones that are pushing for legislation, and they got it fairly quickly. Sam Altman was in Washington last week, and I think he went to Bilderberg this past weekend, so it did not take long. So the whole reason why this is even a story, and the fact that markets even sold off, quote unquote. I mean, how easy is it to, most of these trading things are bots anyway. I'm sure there's some certain keywords that trigger sale of certain stock or bonds or whatever in the markets. And yeah, you put out a story that has those trigger words. It's possible that the AI, because the trading bots see that and go, oh, we got to sell. So regardless, so this is from reclaimthenet.org. And the article headline here, new Democrat bill calls for a federal agency to create, quote, behavioral codes, introduce disinformation experts. I got this from Reclaim the Net because it sort of succinctly puts everything. It says here on May 18th, 2 U.S. senators introduced the Digital Platform Commissions Act of 2023, the 18th. So that was last Thursday. So it was literally right about the time Sam Altman was there. A bill that seeks to give powers to a new federal agency that will set up a council to regulate AI in the context of social platforms. There you go. Exactly what happened here in this insider story. This thing that went, it's an AI-generated hoax. It went viral online on social media platforms. And look, people wrongfully sold their stock. Oh no, we got to regulate. More precisely, the new body, the Federal Digital Platform Commission. There it is, the FDPC. Oh boy, Federal Digital Platform Commission would rule, in quotes, on what termed as enforceable behavioral codes, and among those staffing it will be disinformation experts. Oh man, imagine being that person. Getting away. What are you applying for? I would like to be a disinformation expert. Oh man, what kind of qualifications do you need? Does Alex Jones? What if Alex Jones becomes the disinformation expert head at the Federal Digital Platform Commission? The move by the two Democratic senators, Michael Bennet. I don't think that's our Mike Bennett, Dr. Future, but there's another Michael Bennet, and Peter Welsh, seems to have come in concert with congressional testimony delivered by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, since the bill was presented shortly afterwards, and backs Altman's idea to form a new federal agency of the kind. Altman has more thoughts on how all this should work. The new agency, according to him, might be given the power to restrict AI development via licenses or credentialing. And the fact that Sam Altman is the one presenting this, and he's the one that brought AI he has the first mover advantage because ChatGPT became the first AI, public platform. And who knows, they may not stay number one. I don't even know if they are. I'm sure the market, because so many different ones are coming out now. I don't know what's happening in terms of market share and user base and stuff like that, analytically. But in any case, he won the first mover thing. Got 100 million subscribers, just like that, fastest in history. And also he's the one that's saying, oh yeah, restrict AI, create a council, and, trickle everything out with licenses and credentialing. And, it's just more bureaucracy is what it is. And in that sense, if the leader of the industry is shaping policy, hello, who gets to control the rest of the market via legislation or licensing and credentialing? It's the leader in the market, which is Sam Altman right now. So interesting stuff to point out, because I don't think it's all by accident. So anyway, the speed with which the two senators picked up on this announcement or announced their bill may owe to the fact that Bennett only had to go back and update one he already introduced in 2022. Yes, this stuff has been in the works for a while. The bill wants this definition wants this definition to also cover the companies that provide content primarily generated by algorithmic processes. Okay, so everyone's going to be sort of run through the presser here and tested to see how much of their content is generated by algorithmic processes, which is, again, Photoshop, MS Paint is an algorithmic process. So what are we talking about here? It just is not clear, and it just seems like the crackdown is really coming down now, with AI being the excuse. This is done by proposing that the future commission be given the authority over how personal information is used in decision-making or content generation, which is thought to specifically refer to tech like ChatGPT. So, when you go on YouTube or something, you can look up ChatGPT, and there's all these videos of like tutorials and teaching stuff and how to be more productive with ChatGPT, or how to organize this, or how to do that, or how to code this. There's all these videos, and what they're suggesting is probably some of that's out there right now is going to become illegal or banned or whatever, which is similar to everything that's been happening in the last few years. Okay, so we don't have to finish this particular article from Reclaim the Net, but the basic point being that the connection between this AI-generated hoax making news headlines, the insider having that intelligence connection as well, and the market's selling off, and that acting as some kind of proof that we need a council quick. We got to do it fast because look, it's already affecting markets. I think it's very interesting, and I think this whole thing is a big false flag. It is a purposeful event caused out there to justify the acceleration of something like this bill that's being proposed. So just my 2 cents, but it's not too much of a leap in logic to suggest all that. And of course, if you really think about it, the chaos is coming together.
It's all coming together.
There's so much happening all at once this week, and we're going to start off with NBC News. It's really Newsome science.
It's Newsome science, baby! Ha!
60,000 pounds of an explosive chemical lost during rail shipment, officials say. The company transporting the ammonium nitrate from Wyoming to California said, quote, the release should pose no risk to public health or the environment if the loss resulted from a leak. Oh, from a leak, not if somebody uses it for a big boom. Okay, all right, that's a little misdirection there. So of course this is making the rounds on social media, disinformation, but people are concerned that a rail car carrying ammonium nitrate that left a plant operated by explosives manufacturer Dyno Nobel in Cheyenne, Wyoming on April 12th, according to an incident report filed May 10th by a representative of the company with the National Response Center, was released. The chemical was released due to an unknown cause and was discovered missing after the rail car arrival in Saltdale, California, an unincorporated community more than 1,000 miles from Cheyenne. All right, so there you go. It's gone. What happened to it? Who knows? Okay, so anyway, people are speculating as to what happened, what really is going on there. But this is just it's the first pin in the corkboard of conspiracy red string. We move on to the second one, which is kind of a mind control situation here.
Mind control weapons.
CBS News headline, senators issued satellite phones, offer demonstrations on upgraded security device. Okay, so amid growing concerns of security risks to members of Congress, over 50 senators have been issued satellite phones for emergency communication. People familiar with the measures told CBS News. The devices are part of a series of new security measures being offered to senators by the Senate Sergeant of Arms, or Sergeant at Arms, who took over shortly after the assault on the U.S. Capitol on Jan 6, 2021. Okay, all right. So a direct result of the Jan 6 event is this guy, Senate Sergeant at Arms, and he's doing something that I'm actually kind of surprised they don't have. They have to have government phones that they hand out already, don't they? I mean, I would be very surprised if they don't, but if they don't, having a satellite phone, sure. Yes, the special people that get to communicate on this secret satellite network offered to 100 senators. At least 50 have accepted the phones. That's kind of funny. What are the rest of them doing? They're kind of like, no, this is technology nonsense. In testimony before the Senate Appropriations Committee last month, Senate Sergeant at Arms Karen Gibson. It's a Karen! Karen is handing out satellite phones to the Senate, folks. Again, the world is ending. Let's see. Said satellite communication is being deployed, quote, to ensure a redundant and secure means of communication during a disruptive event. No mention of during a possible disruptive event, or in the case of a disruptive. No, during a disruptive event. Okay, so Karen, there's There's a future disruptive event coming, is what you're saying, Karen. And that the Senate, the people in the Senate, for some reason, need this special communication phone, the satellite phone, to communicate. What are they going to do? Are they going to unleash some, I don't know, stashed away army of goons? I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, there you go. That's what's going down. Gibson, that's Karen, said the phones are security backstop in the case of an emergency that, quote, takes out communication in part of America. Okay. Federal funding will pay for the satellite airtime needed to utilize the phone device. The Department of Homeland Security advisory said satellite phones are a tool for responding to and coordinating government services in the case of a, quote unquote, man-made or natural disaster that wipes out communication. Okay. So we're talking about a cyber pandemic.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber pandemic.
And to back up Karen is the FDA. Have you seen this ad from the FDA?
Are you prepared? The internet is going down later this week. It's going to be crazy. Find out more below.
The internet is going down later this week.
It's going to be crazy.
The real truth the government refuses to tell you. Previous account banned for sharing the truth. Wait a minute. This is misinformation. You may be spreading misinformation unintentionally.
Oh, no.
Confirm the credibility of a source before contributing to the conversation.
Help, please.
To see how FDA is addressing misinformation, check out our Rumor Control webpage.
Our 1984 offices renamed Rumor Control webpage. Yeah, I mean, how dystopian is that? They're like mocking people that are saying the internet is going to go down. And you know that this video is going to go ultra viral when we have any glimpse of an internet, a regional internet shutdown situation, a quote unquote cyber pandemic situation, especially in America or somewhere in the West at large. They know, they have to know that people are onto it at this point. And to the point that I've been making for a while, they're doing a new divide and conquer. It's not just the right left paradigm. They've really succeeded in that already. To keep it polarizing, they're really creating a sort of truther class versus an elite class, this elite establishment class. And those two things, it's pretty obvious to me because there's a large contingency, a growing contingency of people that are looking at government institutions like the FDA and going, really? Like, are you serious? And when they're like mocking the one where it says, where is it? Let's see. Oh, yes. The description of the Twitter account here. Frank W., this fictitious conspiracy theorist man who spreads disinformation. Frank W., in his profile, it says, the real truth the government refuses to tell you. And then, of course, like the of course voice. Oh, previously banned. Previous account banned for sharing the truth. Yeah, you guys are already out here banning accounts, and now you're making ads that make fun of people that talk about how one of their platforms was banned. And, look, I have a little mention in my Twitter description about the YouTube channel, the Face Like This on YouTube channel, because that's how a lot of people found out about my documentaries or who I am or Canary Cry or whatever, because of the numbers. So I have that in my profile, so I guess they're kind of profiling a guy like me where it's like, oh, yeah, but spoke the truth and got banned before. Yes, a lot of people have seen that happen to them. And a lot of it comes from organizations like the FDA. And now they're like, haha, we're going to mock you in this ad and tell you that anybody saying the internet's going to shut down is just a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. And yes, look for the credibility of the source. Well, guess what, FDA? Your credibility ain't that high right now. In fact, every government institution, I apologize, and maybe it's by design. And in fact, I do think it's by design that there is a low confidence in the whole system. And again, I think it's meant to stoke a sort of quote unquote grassroots and what we're seeing to be sort of a techno-conservative uprising. So anyway, that's not all the craziness, but the Fed, there's one more crazy thing, one more craziness, and that's from CNN. The headline here, man accused of ramming U-Haul into barriers near White House praised Hitler after his arrest, court filings say. This update was published at 7:33 a.m. CNN News. It says here, the man accused of crashing a U-Haul truck into a security barrier near the White House Monday night praised Adolf Hitler to investigators after his arrest and said that he aimed to, quote, kill the president if necessary to overthrow the government and install himself in power, according to court documents. Okay. Now, there's sort of two strands of conversation here. One being obvious mental health issues or drugs or something. The other being the sort of spiritual imprint of an event like this, being that this person, his name is Sai Varshith Kandula, I believe he's Indian descent, ethnic Indian, 19 years old, of Chesterfield, Missouri, is in custody and has been charged in federal court with one count of depredation of property of the United States in excess of $1,000. U.S. Park Police originally arrested Kandula on several charges, including threatening to kill or harm a president, vice president, or family member. It's possible that prosecutors add additional charges as the case progresses. Here's the other part. The Secret Service said no agency or White House personnel were injured in the incident. The truck, so the U-Haul truck, which carried a Nazi flag among other items, crashed into security barriers on the north side of Lafayette Square at 16th Street just before 10 p.m. Eastern Time, the U.S. Secret Service said. A preliminary investigation revealed the driver may have intentionally struck the barrier, the agency said later. Kandula made threatening comments regarding the White House at the scene, including that he wanted to kidnap and harm President Joe Biden. Law enforcement sources told CNN. Authorities are considering the role of mental health may have played in the incident, one source said. We have been seeing the constant barrage of two things, one being the actual mental health crisis, literally young people losing their minds. It's happening all over the country and the world, but especially in America. And the media picking up on it and sort of providing this sort of awareness of it, because they're about to provide a solution that we've been talking about: psychedelics, VR, AI. We'll get to an AI story later on that talks about how, it's actually shown that virtual assistance or virtual therapy is helpful. So that's the direction we're going. And, that's kind of the big picture with the mental health stuff. But with this particular case of this 19-year-old having a Nazi flag, it's a little too convenient. I mean, first of all, I would like to know what else was in the van. Was it just the Nazi flag? That's a little weird. It's like a huge U-Haul, and authorities go in there and you got some water bottles and a Nazi flag, which, by the way, I think they placed on the ground and took pictures of it as a sort of photo op. But it says here, in an interview after the arrest, investigators asked Kandula about the Nazi flag he displayed after the crash. The 19-year-old said he bought the flag because, quote, Nazis have a great history, adding that he admires their, quote, authoritarian nature, eugenics, and their one world order. According to court documents, investigators wrote that, quote, when asked if he looks up to any leaders, Kandula answered Hitler because he was a strong leader. Kandula told officers that he had been planning the attack for 6 months and had flown to Washington from St. Louis earlier that evening, according to court documents. Prosecutors said Kandula also told officers that he aimed to, quote, get to the White House, seize power, and be put in charge of the nation, and was prepared to, quote, kill the president if that's what I have to do, and would hurt anyone that would stand in my way. Now, the seriousness of those statements, and thinking about the Russ Dizdar concept of a Black Awakening, where some kind of trigger goes off and people in this country, young people, especially, people that have been sort of born into the new techno era, connecting back to the story Basil talked about, with people having already mental effects because their parents shared their childhood on social media, and now everybody knows about their, big moments of life, whether it be embarrassing or funny or whatever. That's having some kind of psychological effect on young people, obviously. And for it to trigger some guy to fly from Missouri to Washington, D.C., fully planning probably to do this whole thing and making these statements. The Bible talks about the Antichrist and the false prophet speaking like a dragon, look like a lamb, but speak like a dragon. And, it's kind of interesting with this particular guy because, first of all, he's Middle Eastern. He doesn't look, or he's Indian, I think. He's not like this white guy. And what's funny is, of course, Joe Biden recently said the scariest threat in America is white supremacy, right? White supremacy. And then, of course, we've had a couple events of neo-Nazis. It was that, I think there was a gang member or something in Texas, and he was part of the Mexican cartel, right? And he was like a neo-Nazi. And then now we have the Indian guy who's a pro-Nazi guy. And so what is going on here? But there's something interesting to point out, which is that this particular guy praised all of the things that traditional sort of conspiracy theory truthers are against, the stuff that they expose, right? Authoritarian nature, eugenics. Eugenics is a big one that truthers have been talking about for decades now. And the one world order, which obviously we've seen so much conversation about that. And so for this guy, this young man, to say he praises, Nazis and he praises Hitler, and because of these particular issues that conspiracy theorists also talk about, guess what this does to, in the realm of Google and the internet itself, when it comes to keyword censoring. This is almost brilliant. It's almost kind of like evil genius, because anybody who has an article that says eugenics or, neo-eugenics, the new world order, the one world government, the authoritarian nature of eugenics, or the authoritarian nature of a one world government, whatever, the truthers who have been publishing articles with those keywords in it for years, all of a sudden, ban them. They're all crazy 19-year-old Nazis. I think that's the play. And it's pretty wild that we're seeing it in real time. But that's this is exactly what I think it is. It's a way to sort of continue the censorship. We saw it with QAnon, similar kind of thing. Agents from the U.S. Secret Service and the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force Tuesday executed a federal search warrant at Kandula's Missouri home, according to a federal law enforcement official. They searched for notes, computers, or any evidence of planning that led up to the motive behind Monday's events. Former high school classmates of Kandula described him as quiet and someone who didn't get into trouble. Arian Barfield, the former classmate of Kandula, you got the one guy willing to go on record and his name and everything. Arian Barfield, a former classmate of Kandula's at Marquette High School, described him as a, quote, good dude who, quote, never got in trouble and, quote, never made a scene in school. So there you go. It's the quiet ones that you got to be aware of, apparently. But there you go. What is going on here? the sort of string of events taking place this week. Explosives disappear. Now, it'd be something else if this guy, they found the explosives in his truck, right? Then you're full circle on this whole news cycle this week. But yeah, you got the 60K pounds of explosive chemicals going missing. You have senators being issued satellite phones in case everything goes down. Communication networks. You got the FDA making ridiculous promos that are making fun of conspiracy theorists who say that they're planning a whole shutdown of the internet or whatever. And a guy that the white supremacist who is not white supreme is white supreme. What am I talking about? An alleged white supremacist Hitler praising man who's from India tried to break into the White House and say he's ready to kill to do so. And the Nazi thing and the Hitler thing is sort of, in public discourse is sort of the bottom of the barrel. Like if you go there, you're kind of discredited, right? And so it's interesting that it's brought up in this way. And it did remind me of something, which is, and I don't necessarily need to go through the whole process here because it's a long kind of rabbit trail. But if I am not mistaken, and please, if there's somebody out there listening or watching and, they know for sure, correct me on this, but I believe it was Jim Wilhelmsen who did a couple episodes early on in Canary Cry Radio in the radio days. It probably was 2013, 2014, somewhere in that time range. Jim Wilhelmsen talked about his theory about who the Antichrist might be. And I believe it was him who said that he thought maybe Hitler himself was the Antichrist. Now, it sounds kind of crazy, but, when you look at how a generation is being sort of mind controlled into worshiping Hitler post his death, right? You have the Nazi era, which was very short, but then sort of it kind of went underground basically after World War II. The whole system is still there, and it ties back to occultism and the mystery religions and all that stuff. It's still there, but it's not public. The Fourth Reich, the secret Fourth Reich, the shadow, system. And so, the idea goes back to Revelation 17, and the other point being that with AI, now you're able to sort of collect all the data from world history figures, right? And create an AI, Hitler GPT on the dark web. Somebody's going to make Hitler GPT. They get some wild ideas that, they're basically summoning Hitler and picking his brain, and boom, you have a radicalized neo-Nazi. It doesn't matter if you're white or Indian or Mexican, or it doesn't matter. Or black even. There's a weird kind of, the whole race war thing is part of a thread amongst all this. But so Revelation 17 talks about the 7 mountains, which are 7 kings. And most people who do commentating on biblical prophecy and eschatology and end times passages, they consider the 5, the passage being, again, Revelation 17, starting at verse 9. This calls for a mind of wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain only for a little while. And then at verse 11, the beast that was and now is not is an 8th king. So there's an 8th that comes after the 7. I know people look at this. There was a pastor at one of my old churches that I went to a few years ago that brought this passage up and just made fun of it. I did not take liking to that. I was like, they kind of did I'm sure you get it now, ha ha ha, and it was kind of a mainstream thing. But anyway, it does appear to be confusing, but it's not too much if you look at some of the historical commentating going on. This was written by John the Revelator on the island of Patmos, the book of Revelation, as he was receiving it. And so the first 5 kings is thought to be Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo Persia, and Greece. Although, does Sumeria in that whole civilization put a wrench in that a little bit? I don't know. But in any case, especially from a biblical timeline, it makes sense. And then, of course, a lot of people suggest that the 6th is the one that is when John's writing, which is Rome, and then the 7th, which is let's see, what is it? And the other that has not yet come, but when he does, he must remain only for a little while. And part of that being the 7th one being Hitler and the Nazi era. He was only there for a short while, right? It's only about 12 years of Nazi reign, but it really shifted the world completely in a very interesting way. And of course, you got paperclip in the United States and not NASA, and it's a whole thing that exploded post World War II and the Hitler's reign, so to speak. And so again, it's a tough interpretation, but it's one that I've seen thrown out there. Some people suggesting that the little horn, little being sort of another reference to a shorter period of time, perhaps. That and also the 8th empire here, or the 8th king being, or an 8th era being one that comes out of the 7. So it can be Hitler, it can be whatever. Perhaps there's a spirit of Nimrod that really, houses bodies or something as time goes on, if you want to get into kind of the woo-woo stuff. But in any case, these are all challenging passages that they do have some level of correspondence, but you don't want to get too dogmatic about that stuff. It is an interesting exercise in looking at these passages and looking what's going on around us. And, because it seems like to me, even the whole idea of an eighth kingdom, even if, because the other interpretation here is that the US and the UK and the rise of sort of Protestantism is the seventh kingdom after Rome. And so if that's the case, then, Nazis kind of put a wrench in that sort of. So, and also there's the idea of the modern nation state of Israel being perhaps the one that was, is, and will not be or whatever. So all kinds of interpretations. I don't want to get too lost in it. But in general, I just want to wrap it up by saying that, we're seeing sort of this evolution of the mainstream media where it's openly propaganda. It's not really a secret anymore that it's propaganda, and it's really obvious. And it's the outrage. We're almost past the outrage stage, right? It's almost like as a general public, if you're just a normal citizen, you should expect propaganda. You should expect false flag events. You should expect fabricated stories to push through policies and things like that. You should expect it by now. There should be a more educated public on this. So that's why I think it's interesting to track all this stuff, and mainstream media becoming this other thing, this obvious other thing. It's almost like, just to make a crude analogy, it's like a snake shedding its skin, where the old layer dies, it's decrepit, it's fallen off, it's it's bad. And you got the new layer of skin. It's shiny, it's fresh, looks good, but you're still a snake, you're like shiny and new and stuff, but still a snake. So it's kind of like that with the mainstream media. It's still the mainstream media. It's the same thing, but they're kind of going into this era of shedding the sort of veneer, this sort of lie layer that they're like, oh, we're integrous. Nobody thinks you're integrous anymore. So it's like, well, just go ahead and just pump out the stories that the system wants you to pump out. And, the people that are fooled by it, they're going to continue to be fooled by it, but it feels like less and less are. But in any case, it's the new divide and conquer tactic. And I think stories like this, it's the whole era of going into the sort of sci-fi dystopia, all these stories align with that kind of vision. So there you go. Okay. That's enough of my rant at the top here. Let's talk about how it is Wednesday, my dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what date it is? It's Wednesday. Time for the Canary Cry News Talk. Yeehaw!
Wednesday, my dudes. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
I'm getting scolded in the chat that I should know my Bible better. I think all of us can know our Bibles better. I'm not perfect. But, I do my best here. And yeah, I've done the study on those passages, and, I try to look at a lot of different interpretations because I really don't want to get too dogmatic on one. When it comes to eschatological passages, I think that's the trap. If you really are convinced, there are certain things that I'm pretty passionate about, like the Revelation 13 stuff with the image and, as it refers to AI and things of that nature. But in any case, we're all here sort of trying to do our best. So there's that. Okay, we got an update from Basil. Again, we're hopefully, he'll be back next week. I do want to mention that it is unlikely that I will be able to pull off an episode this Friday. Of course, Friday the 26th, and then we got Pentecost on the 28th on Sunday, and then Memorial Day on the 29th. Those are all days that we are moving. The big truck's coming. The U-Haul truck with the Nazi flag is coming. is coming on Friday, and we're gonna load up and we're gonna make the official move there. So That is a situation where it's going to be very challenging. I'm going to try, if I could pull it off between now and Friday morning, I will put together a Face Like the Sun style, kind of a shorter video / podcast episode that I'll publish maybe on all feeds, on the Canary Cry radio feed as well. I don't know that I feel comfortable calling it a whole episode, but I've had all these notes on Christian nationalism, and I've been wanting to sort of place it in a little strategic video or audio. So I might do that if I could pull it off before and publish it. It may not be very long. It's probably going to be, I'm going to try to keep it 15 to 20 minutes or something, just real quick and brief, just so that content is published over the weekend. But it is unlikely that I'll be able to do an episode on Monday next week. So just a heads up. Yeah, I'm just low and few. Running low. What am I trying to say? I don't even know anymore. All right, okay. We do operate on value for value. If you get value out of my ramblings, or when Basil's back, his ramblings are rantings and ramblings together, and you find value in a message that is grounded in the truth, the life, and the way, the truth, the life, that also has no corporate influence, no communist influence, no cartel influence, as far as we're aware. Just being the canary in the coal mine here, pointing to the way, the truth, the life. And you support shows like that, then please consider providing value back by becoming a producer of the show. You can produce the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure. And we do this to steer clear of being co-opted by creepy corporate communist cartel types that are out there trying to control the message and control the way people think about the world. So we have some executive producers to thank who come in with a little bit extra.
Executive producers.
Executive producers come in with an amount, with their treasure, of $100 or more. They are the faithful and the ones who step forward. Everybody thank these executive producers because they are really contributing to the system here, this value for value system that we operate on. And there's a couple of executive producers that I'd like to thank. And we're going to start it off with Amy B. Amy B. Thank you very much, Amy B. She comes in with $177.77. Fantastic. It's a number to read. All those sevens lining up. Of course, there's the seven spirits in the Bible, 7 being a number that is in reference to God. So thank you very much, Amy B. I didn't see a note, but we truly appreciate it for being an executive producer of episode 627.
Where'd you find this?
We also have another executive producer, and this is a makeup also. This is a whole thing. So it's Maureen M. Maureen M., thank you very much for your executive producership. Blah. And she is actually on an executive streak.
Where'd you...
Oh, listen.
Executive streak.
Yes. She is, this is 3 executive producerships in a row, which means she's heating up.
He's heating up!
And the reason why I'm doing this now is because I missed it in the last episode, episode 626. So she had a message in that one, praying all is well with Basil's health and your move, Gons, Psalm 29:11. The Lord will give strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. God bless Maureen M. Thank you very much, Maureen M. And also for episode 627, executive producership, prayers for the overcomers. 1 John 5:5. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Jesus is the Son of God? God bless always, Maureen M. Thank you very much. Again, the hat trick is complete. Maureen M. 3 executive producerships in a row.
Where'd you find this?
And Maureen M., keep tabs on your producership here, because it's got to be approaching or is already past knighthood or damehood, round table level. So for those of you who are curious, we have a similar system to what the No Agenda show started. Adam and John over there on the No Agenda show had a whole system, the Value for Value, and they had a whole knighting system. We just adopted it. We asked him if it was okay. He said, yes, please rip us off completely. And so we said, okay, we'll do that. And so we did. We have our own little flavor with it, but those are people who come in with $1,000 or more in one time or overtime. So we just encourage people to keep track of how much you've given, because we'd like to honor you if you have passed that $1,000 point. So there you go. Those are our two executive producers for episode 627, Amy B and Maureen M. Thank you very much. Did I do this properly for Maureen M? Man, I'm losing my mind. Well, just in case.
Where'd you find this?
Thank you to both of you. Okay, we do have some other producers I want to run through real quick, because as of now, the list is fairly short, which is expected. It's okay. There's a lot of people that have jumped into the T-shirt Council or the supply drop, which are both available for people who would like to support monthly. And yeah, okay, so there's one more here that I need to throw in, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and thank some producers now, and then we'll get into some more stories. So, first up, let me thank Sir Moore of Knight of the Burning Chariots, coming in 233 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Illuminatus!
Yes, and that's a makeup as well, because I believe I missed him in the last episode, but he was there. And so, yes, the streak continues, Sir Moore, of 233 episodes. Thank you very much. We also have people, and that was under 777. Actually, there was one person over 777. I apologize. I need to do that first. Morgan E. Morgan E. coming in. Is this the 33rd episode for Morgan E? I think it might be.
Illuminated Lizard Master Show. Officially solidifying Illuminated Lizard Master Show.
My most exciting streak.
I think you've done it, Morgan E. 33 episodes in a row. Congratulations, you are now a Master Shill. All right. And I didn't see a note. Double check that, but I didn't see a note. Came in with $20.53. Thank you very much. There's a note. And we don't have to. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Thank you for the note, Morgan E. Appreciate it. Okay. Now people under 777. We already had Sir Moore that we thanked. Sir Casey the Shield Knight coming in 301 episodes in a row. He's embarked on a new century. Thank you, Sir Casey. We have Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's coming in at 263 episodes in a row. We also have Veronica D coming in at 263 episodes in a row. And then we'll just go ahead and do Sir Scott Knight of Truth, 287. Yes, 287 episodes in a row. And we'll see about Ronin Poet. We'll see. All right. That's it. I know it's kind of a short list, but it is what it is. I think, we're about to hit the debt ice wall, and, everyone's kind of just bracing for impact. So I understand. I understand it's a tough time right now. I think all of us are feeling it. And by the way, once again, just a great thank you to all the producers, executive producers, anybody who has contributed with their time, talent, or treasure, and especially the treasure at this point. Again, doing the move, we had some finances that between my wife and I, especially my wife, through her job, we were supposed to get some certain funds, that normally happen annually, but they did not happen as planned. So it kind of put us in a bind, but we're going to be okay because of the Canary Cry family and the Value for Value system. And it's a huge, huge blessing. And I don't quite think the producers, well, you guys understand, but I'm hoping you truly do understand the level of appreciation and just how much of a blessing it is, because it really is saving our butts, literally. So thank you so much for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Let's flip.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the fun and exciting ways robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing we can do about it except microchip ourselves with sensors. This is Hackster.io headline. Flex your robotics muscles. Oh boy, here we go. We're going to have the swole robot. The swole Flippy is on its way. Electromyography, EMG, is a procedure that evaluates and records the electrical activity generated by skeletal muscles. It offers valuable insight into the functioning and well-being of muscles and the nerves responsible for their control by utilizing electrodes placed on the skin or inserted into the muscle. EMG captures and quantifies, the quantification of creation, the electrical signals produced during muscle contraction and relaxation. Again, interesting, right? EMG. In robotics, EMG signals can be utilized to control robotic systems and prosthetic devices. And we just covered a story about a company that's taking all the, who was it? It was Gordy Rose and his Sanctuary AI, and how they're like, oh, it's going to be different because we're taking all human movement data and we're just going to replicate it in the robot, and then so people don't have to do all the heavy lifting anymore, and we'll all look like Vitalik Buterin. Wow, that's a super insider crypto joke. If you are unsure what I'm talking about, make sure you have the safe on and go look up Vitalik Buterin picture. There are some bad pictures of him in terms of photoshopped and all that, so beware. But anyway, that is a complete side note. That is horrible. Why did I just do that? This approach, known as myoelectric control, allows for natural and intuitive control of robotic systems, enhancing their functionality and usability. Similar techniques have proved to be useful in developing other novel human-computer interfaces as well. Getting started with EMG may sound complicated and expensive, and it certainly can be, but it does not need to be. The engineers over at Ultimate Robotics have developed an open-source wireless wearable EMG monitor, and it starts at under $50. And based on the demonstrations highlighted by the team, this platform can make for some very interesting projects, like a robotic arm that mirrors your own movements, a reality. There's a picture of the microchip here, and there's video down here of a guy. He's got his forearm, his palm facing up, and he's sort of wiggling his fingers, and the microchip is strapped to his wrist. And there's a robotic arm to his right, a pretty detailed humanoid-looking robotic hand. You can see inside the arm and all of the sort of moving parts there, kind of mimicking the tendons and the muscles. And it's replicating the movements of the human hand. So there you go. I mean, this is, again, it's a real example of how human data will feed and give rise to the robot machine, or sort of a elusively convinced, sentient AI. But anyway, the results are quite good, but not exactly perfect. And they're going to continue the process here. And, again, this is in terms of the progress here with Flippy, we are seeing more and more human contributions, direct contributions in the form of data to help with the evolution of the robot arm. Because, you really think about Flippy, the actual Flippy from Miso Robotics. It was really kind of a clanky arm with the spatula on it. All it can do is flip burgers. But now we have more dexterity. We have, all kinds of people developing various forms of robot hands and arms and muscles. And there was another story about how they're making a robot hand that reacts to reflexes and things like that. So it's all being developed and moved in that direction, but they're getting help from humans. And so it really is this alchemy moment where we are, again, continuing to try to create a golem, the historic homunculus that has been part of the endeavors of alchemists for centuries. So there you go. That's our Flippy update. I know it's not the most compelling, but, you talk about Mark of the Beast. And this guy's got his microchip pretty close there to his right hand, I mean, if you're aware of this stuff, just as a PR thing, I would use my left hand, But yeah, these people must have not have read their Bibles or something, which wouldn't surprise me. All right, there's your Flippy update. We're going to get into some other stories here, particularly concerning politics. Ooh, here's a quiet politic jingle. Hold on. I must unmute something here. Aha, here we go. Yes, politics.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
Your blood.
All right. You all know how much I love politics. It's my least favorite topic. But I do have to mention some things because I've been talking about techno-conservatism and the sort of rise of a new system, kind of a technocratic revolution taking place in the right-left paradigm. And here we are. Actually, as we record this, the whole thing might be going down. If it is, we might tap in live real quick to see if we can do it. New York Times. DeSantis set to announce 2024 run on Twitter with Elon Musk. Adding a twist to the beginning of his presidential campaign, the Florida governor is expected to appear on a live audio conversation with Mr. Musk, the social platform's owner, on Wednesday evening. Here it is. Okay, hold on. Let's see. No, hold on. Let me see if I can play some of this and we'll listen in live. This is live, guys. Woo! Oh, not available. Wait, hold on. What's going on? Did it end already? Couldn't have ended already. Let's try again. Let's see. Elon Musk. How many microchips? Okie dokie. Any day now. Sorry. Maybe I should just read the article here. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is planning to announce the start of his 2024 presidential campaign on Wednesday in a live... the headline. Mr. DeSantis' entry into the Republican primary race against former President Donald J. Trump has been widely expected, but decision to do so with Mr. Musk adds a surprising element and gives Mr. DeSantis access to a larger audience online. Okay, here we go. Let's listen in. Let's check out what they're saying here. Join this space. Here we go. Let's hear some live reactions. Are we not getting it? Are we muted? What's happening? There you go. Join the space. Maybe it's crashing because so many people are trying to listen. Alrighty. Come on. All right.
How they aren't welcome in your state.
Claiming that Florida is unsafe is a total farce. I mean, are you kidding me? You look at cities around this country, they are awash in crime. In Florida, our crime rate is at a 50-year low. If you look at the top 25 cities for crime in America, Florida does not have a single one amongst the top 25. And if you look at cities like Baltimore and Chicago, you got kids more likely to get shot than to receive a first-class education. Yet I don't see the NAACP batting an eye about all the outrage and the carnage that's happening in those areas. So this is a political stunt. These left-wing groups have been doing it for many, many years. And at the end of the day, what they're doing is colluding with legacy media to try to manufacture a narrative. Now, the good news is fewer and fewer Americans are gullible enough to believe this dribble. And platforms like Twitter are there where people can debunk these lies in real time. And I would just say, as an American citizen, if you are uncritically accepting narratives spun by legacy media and left-wing groups, you're failing at your job of being a conscientious citizen. And I think people just see right through it. And oh, by the way, have any of these travel advisories, because they've been doing this for a while, all these left-wing groups, have any of them worked? Well, we're the #1 state for net in-migration and have been every year since I've been governor, We just capped the highest quarter for tourism in the history of the state of Florida. And our view is we want everybody to succeed regardless of their skin color. We don't divvy up people by race. At the same time, it is worth pointing out that we have in Florida more Black-owned businesses than any state in the nation. And we've also had more African Americans lead state agencies under my administration than at any time in Florida history. But with us, they're there because of merit, not because we're trying to play identity politics. And if you want to look at education, the Black students in Florida perform much higher than Black students in most other states. We rank number 3 in 4th grade reading and number 2 in 4th grade math amongst our Black student population. And oh, by the way, the head of the NAACP lives in Florida, and a lot of their board members have put out on social media during my governorship Florida vacations where they seem to be having an awful good time.
All right, gonna go ahead and mute that for a second there. But there you go. There's a little, you never know when you jump into something live. So, but it just so happens that Ron DeSantis was talking there. So, yeah, some interesting insight. But I really don't like any politician and how they. And that's kind of the problem. That's the reason why I don't like politics, is because to have any conversation about anything and to pitch any moral high ground on anything, you need analytics, and you just end up categorizing people and doing, because yeah, it's just in the sort of social climate we're in now. Look, stats are stats. I get it, but the fact that he has to talk about like, oh, our Black people are awesome, our Black people. Look, I get it. It's facts are facts, but also it's just annoying that in politics you have to always talk in that sort of capacity. But anyway, it was a good little jab there to the NAACP and the people there. And yeah, Ron DeSantis has always been fairly well spoken and everything. So this is interesting, though. I don't know if he's going to actually be able to pull off a sort of presidency against Donald Trump. I mean, maybe some people are saying they're going to, Trump should actually just pull him in and have him run as vice president or something. But, we'll have to see. And what does this do in terms of credibility for Ron DeSantis to hop on a Twitter Spaces and go ahead and announce it? Let's see how many people are in there right now. And that's the one thing about Twitter Spaces that's really interesting. It's kind of just a live, it's like a big audio room, like a Zoom meeting kind of, but everybody's there. It's not even loading properly right now because I'm sure there are like 227,000 listeners. Yeah. So 227,000 people are tuning in live right now on Twitter Spaces. So yeah, it's a very interesting idea. It's kind of like Clubhouse. And people, anyone can jump in. Not everyone can speak. Obviously, you got to be brought up to the stage or whatever. But I just think it's an interesting time to be looking at all this because, again, Ron DeSantis trying to ride the sort of techno-conservative wave of Elon Musk that he's bringing, or he's sort of brought upon in rapid fashion with his purchase of Twitter. He was kind of going in that direction already, but that Elon's not exactly endorsing DeSantis. I think he said as much, but also, yeah, come on. you know that there's Elon knows his influence. And so I feel like what's happening here also is an age thing or generational thing where you're sort of older Americans, your older conservative Americans are probably more likely to support Trump, but your younger conservatives may be more DeSantis, especially if DeSantis can get in front of them. So interesting to note. And DeSantis plays right into the right-left paradigm. You have this this lady here. I think this is maybe the lady that DeSantis was referencing, Aisha Mills. Maybe she's the one that was having a good old time vacationing in Florida, because she actually did talk about going to Florida, I believe, in this clip. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this to play. It's kind of laggy right now. Come on, video. I'm getting the circle of death. No. Maybe because I'm on Twitter Spaces too, it's just too much. Yeah, we're crashing Twitter. The tree is falling. Is there a noise? If a virtual tree falls in the metaverse, is there a sound? Yes. Okay, let's see here. Let me get to the part. Come on. Show me the thing. Why is everything so slow? I think it's about 30 seconds.
On this issue. You know, I just took my family to spring break in Florida recently, and I think about all of the folks who traveled there for sun and joy and peace and restoration. And to be reminded that actually this is getting to the point where Florida is about to be a terrorist state to many of us here in America. Certainly as a lesbian, as a Black woman, I don't want to have anything to do with the place.
Oh, so if you're a Black lesbian, Florida is a terrorist state now? Holy moly. See what I'm saying? The divide and conquer has intensified to the point now where I guess if you're lesbian and Black, I mean, you walk into Florida and they're just gonna, I don't know, burn you or something. I don't know. They're going to put you in the ovens, those neo-Nazis. Right? Like, this is craziness. And so I think it's an interesting divide and conquer tactic where DeSantis is real. And even if DeSantis doesn't win this time around, it kind of does set him up for a 2028 bid, especially if, do we even know if a Republican can win this next election, officially or unofficially? I think the trust level is already so low. If they do some kind of obvious rigging, it's really going to create the upheaval civilly here. So anyway, yeah, the Ron DeSantis thing is it's interesting. It's interesting. It does feed into that side, the proper side. Oh, here's the other thing that I think is fascinating as well, because DeSantis has all these things that he's rolling out. And part of that being he's pro-Bitcoin. Texas and Florida are pro-Bitcoin. So that's already a thing that's in place. And DeSantis was also very, he's probably the most anti-vaccine guy out there. That's not like, I don't think he's full outright anti-vaccine, if I'm not mistaken. But he sort of played into that crowd very well during the pandemic. So those are two talking points that he shares with another presidential candidate, which I'll get to in a moment here. Because Maria Bartiromo on Fox News had this to say about the next elections in 2024. This was on Fox Business.
We now have black and white evidence that the FBI interfered in the 2016 election. And then when they failed to get their candidate elected, Hillary Clinton, then they just set out to destroy the Trump administration. So then go up to 2020. It was the CIA this time that got involved in the 2020 election with those 51 former intel agents who talked about the Hunter Biden laptop as total Russian disinformation. So they've gotten away with it for 2 elections. They're for sure going to get away with it, try to get away with it in 24, right? Because there's no consequence.
It's interesting. She kind of speaks and says they're going to get away with it. They're going to try to get away with it. Interesting.
The difference is in 2024, the evidence is there. We now have the Durham investigation. We have all the congressional investigations. There is now hard evidence that there was election interference by the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice. They've got to be terrified. Those individuals have to be terrified that a Republican president comes in the 2024 election with a Republican attorney general, investigates them and charges them all with the crimes they've committed over the last 8 years.
Is that the Trump, revenge tour? Maybe. But do we know that a Republican can actually win if everything is rigged? If they're going to try to rig everything anyway? And she's specifically saying that the CIA and the NSA and the FBI and the DOJ, they're going to try to rig the election. And here's to the point of Twitter and this sort of techno-conservative movement. Jack on Twitter, former CEO of Twitter. Jack said, tweeted out yesterday, splinter the CIA, NSA, and FBI into 1,000 pieces and scatter them into the winds. Whoa. pretty strong language there to dismantle government institutions, coming from Jack Dorsey. And he has a link here, and the link is to a painting portrait of John F. Kennedy. Now, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm shooting from the hip. I'm just spitballing. These are not hardline predictions, although I will take full credit if something like that does happen. But that I'm talking about, this scenario, is where DeSantis, the Republican, decides to somehow run or join forces with JFK Jr., a Democrat. And you have this rejoining of the Republican and Democrat party, narrative-wise, not in practice per se, but a narrative that Republicans and Democrats are coming together in the sort of new techno movement, this technocratic populism or techno-conservatism, whatever you want to call it, that's being headed here by the likes of Elon Musk and even DeSantis now jumping into the whole fray there. Could that happen? Because here's the two things that JFK Jr. and DeSantis share, and that is an anti-vax-ish stance, not super RFK Jr. I keep messing up. I keep saying JFK. RFK Jr. Is the vaccine issue. Obviously, RFK Jr. very vocal about the vaccine issue over the last few years, which again, DeSantis in Florida being probably the loosest in terms of all the implementations that were brought forth during the pandemic era. But also Bitcoin. They're both Bitcoiners in terms of, DeSantis having bills that are really friendly to Bitcoin, either mining or owning or trading. And also RFK Jr. becoming the first president to openly accept Bitcoin as part of his campaign. So there's something there. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but it just seems like some kind of, it's almost like when you see in nature, like birds flying together, you know what's going to happen, and it may not happen. Okay. But they're kind of just flying together. There's a symbiosis taking place. They're kind of dancing together, And so I'm just seeing sort of this whole thing come together, but it may not. I'm just on a perch here, watching the horizon. So there you go. That's a little bit of politics there. It just seems like, man, the level of mind control. I think it's one of those things where after so many years, of just even with the rise of awareness of the corruption and everything else going on, it's just so bad when you're actually in and looking at the news cycle in terms of politics. It's so divisive. It's emotionally draining. It takes a lot of energy to address, the talking points and all this kind of stuff. It's just, it's tiresome. So I just can't stay in it for very long personally. But I see what's happening from afar, and it's just, it's interesting. It's definitely some changes taking place. And I do think that whether we have an election in 2024 or not, in my mind, just where I'm at right now, it feels like they're just going to rig it to have 4 more years of Biden. And within that period, Biden may keel over or get hurt or whatever. Something might happen to him. And that wouldn't be much of an issue. But in terms of, Kamala taking over and everything else, I mean, it's all seems to be planned out anyway. But if the riggers get their way, it seems that that's the outcome they would like to have because, hey, it's the great reset, baby. It's all happening. It's all working. It's just a little pain, ripping off the Band-Aid hurts a little bit, but hey, the reset is upon us, right? So anyway, but also, keep in mind the divisiveness of Trump talking about DeSantis. He did not have nice things to say about DeSantis on his Truth Social. So very interesting, just keeping an eye on how all this unfolds, because ultimately it is a sort of battle of ideology. We see other countries being completely taken over by the likes of the World Economic Forum.
We need a great reset.
And that is Brazil. We have Jam, who's been a producer of the show for over a year now, giving us links almost every episode. He's got a batch full of links to consider for the episode. Oftentimes there are either stories that we already had planned to cover, or sometimes he helps us fill the gaps with some stories he sends us. But he's been putting together some pretty thorough reports from his nation of interest, Brazil. And of course, we went through a whole election and a whole, there's been a lot of drama in Brazil. But this article here that comes from Estadão. I don't know if I'm saying that right. English translation here. Brazil can be an ecological power, says founder of the World Economic Forum. So, yeah, Klaus visited Brazil and had some things to say. For economist Klaus Schwab, the country can influence the agenda in an important way at the international level, but it still has economic obstacles such as the low level of investment. Yes, it's all about the money. Yes. Klaus Schwab, tell us, Klaus, how can we improve our nation's, agenda, purpose in the globalism, world government? Economist and engineer Klaus Schwab, who founded the World Economic Forum 52 years ago, an event that brings together the cream of capitalism. That must be a translation, but I like that. Cream of capitalism. Oh, that's a great one. Okay, so it brings together the cream of capitalism on the planet every year in Davos in the Swiss Alps, was in Brazil this week and said he believes the country can get back on the map worldwide. For him, the country can gain more influence on topics such as energy transition. Boy, is there a country that's not on board with that thing? As it will stage major international events over the next 2 years. Stage major international events? Are we talking, is it like the Olympics? Oh, Rio. Rio, maybe? Is there a Rio Olympics coming up? I forget. Hold on, let me check. That's got to be what it means, right? Because they're not talking about like false flag events or something. There's major international events that will take place in Brazil in the future. The UFOs will arrive. It's not something like that. Or a nuke will go off. G20 meeting. Oh, such as the G20 meeting. Okay, G20 is happening there. So yeah, they got their eyes on Brazil. Schwab warned, however, that the Brazilian economy still has a low level of investment and needs to increase, which requires the participation of the private sector. So what Schwab and World Economic Forum does when they go into countries is they help them implement the public-private partnership, which Joan Vion, late Christian, sister in Christ, passed away a few years ago, talked about in the early 2000s as how this whole New World Order system is being constructed. It's not sort of this top-down approach. It's through capitalism in a sense, but it's kind of a crony capitalism. And really it's through this thing called the public-private partnership where, if you really just look at the words, they are contradictory ideas. Public, everyone sees. Private, no one sees. Public-private partnership, a partnership where everybody sees but also doesn't see, right? So it's like, okay. So anyway, that's what they do. This is how it all works. And of course, he says that he's hopeful about the advancements of artificial intelligence, a topic that has disturbed personalities around the world, and says he believes it can be an ally of the development of countries, although it can destroy many jobs and create new ones. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, good job, Klaus. And then they go into interview format here with Klaus, and basically he talks about how they need to raise the GDP, and let's see, they talk about interest rates. It's all very boring stuff. The AI, okay. About artificial intelligence, some personalities such as businessman Elon Musk are showing concern about the advancement. Are you more hopeful or more fearful of the progress of this industry? Here's what Klaus said. Like any new technology, it brings tremendous opportunities. These world elite type, they're always talking about opportunities. Remember the Kissinger clip about Obama? It's a great opportunity to bring a new world order. Let's see. 25 years ago, there was the social media revolution, which reduced distribution costs and affected many industries, such as media. Artificial intelligence will do the same for the production of non-material goods. It will destroy many jobs and create new ones. It is an opportunity. with an even greater impact than social media, which will displace millions of people. How is this guy not I don't know, devil man? Like, come on. Do you hear yourself? This cannot be just lost in translation. I mean, he's clearly saying it's going to displace millions. Many jobs will be destroyed, but many will be new ones will form. Many will be created. And yeah, it's going to have all this upheaval. You thought you saw the world go crazy with social media. Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. AI is about to, what? Okay. All right. And then it talks about ESG, which, we've covered a lot over the last year and a half, 2 years or so. So there you go. Brazil. And I think somebody in the chat here was saying that Lula, who's in charge right now, started his career at Johns Hopkins in the 70s. Well, there you go. That's all the connection you need. It's all back to the large octopus. All these people seem to have a familiar origin. This is the Washington Times. U.S. Embassy in Brazil releases video plugging gender-neutral pronouns. Of course, because that's what's most important in Brazil right now is gender pronouns. That's why America's there, to help them with their gender pronouns. I have a part of the note here from Jam says that Brazil is now politically dead for almost 6 months. Nothing is moving. Several important persons and businessmen that helped to elect Lula are now becoming desperate to see that everything is crumbling. The biggest news media company in Brazil is doing everything to help Lula to maintain his false image a little longer. The commerce are closing doors. Several big companies filing for bankruptcies. Well, that's true all around the world there, Jam. That's part of the reset. That seems to be part of the reason why they put a guy like Lula in Brazil, a pretty important economic destination for the World Economic Forum, at least. They're going to have their G20 there next year. And so they know that it's sort of an untapped resource. So you got to put in a World Economic Forum guy in there to hard reset. We need that reset, baby. Can't do it with a populist guy or a guy that's, saying the truth on camera. Can't have that. We need the puppet there. So that's definitely what's happening. I believe that in a few weeks into June, all this catastrophe will spill over outside Brazil borders, and it will no longer be possible to hide what is happening here. And in fact, again, it's happening all over the world. It's happening in Italy. There's a huge populist movement uprising, and it's because it's become so obvious what these people are doing, and it is sort of creating that dystopic. Again, it's sort of this cyberpunk future, dystopic future, where you have the elite class, very much like Hunger Games. You have the district, and you have these people that are elite and high class, and then you have everybody else who are sort of siphoned off to the rest of society. And I truly believe that that's kind of where we're headed. We're already pretty much there in sort of a virtual sense. It's just going to get worse and worse. And I don't foresee anything good happening out of that. And, of course, if they need to speed things up, if you need, in Mario Kart, those arrows on the ground, where you drive over the arrows and you get that boost, you get that speed boost. Well, they have 3 years of data on how to ramp up another speed boost.
A pandemic special.
Nationalpost.com, Disease X is coming, and with it, the next global pandemic, scientists warn. Disease X. As the world eases back to normalcy following 3 years of COVID-19, the scientific and public health community is already preparing for the next serious outbreak or pandemic. They just don't know what the disease will be yet. Oh, yeah. Scientists have estimated that 1.67 million yet to be discovered viruses exist in mammals and birds, and about half of them have the potential to spill to humans. As far back as 2018, the World Health Organization gave this unknown future outbreak a placeholder name, Disease X. We've talked about Disease X. If I can ask Elon Musk one question, it would be this. Do you foresee a time when you have to get a vaccine to operate the X app that he's trying to create? You know, I mean, he has supported mRNA technology. I think he even funded somebody that he funded was doing, research for COVID shots. So, he's on board with that stuff. He just hasn't really been upfront with it too much. He'd rather talk about Doge or SpaceX or Tesla or something. But hey, disease X, get the cure for disease X on the X app. I don't know. Okay. No knowledge that a serious international epidemic could be caused by a pathogen currently unknown to cause human disease, the WHO explained 1 year after the designation. COVID-19 was identified as the first in the mysterious category that scientists had warned about. Yeah, there's Johns Hopkins there again. Oh, there it is. Today, more infectious outbreaks seem inevitable. Quote, it is not an exaggeration to say that there is potential of a disease X event just around the corner, said Pranab Chatterjee, researcher at the Department of International Health at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health in Baltimore. Quote, the recent spate of H5N1 bird flu cases in Cambodia is just a case in point. It will take creativity and vigilance to track and anticipate the next outbreak, says Peter Daszak, president of EcoHealth Alliance, a New York-based global environmental nonprofit organization. Excuse me. I'm sorry. National Post, I hope National Post, because they supposedly lean right a little bit, right? They're not actually quoting him as like a real source. I hope they're saying, yeah, this guy who everybody knows probably had a big hand in creating COVID-19. We're going to listen to this guy, the guy who got money from Fauci to go over there, the EcoHealth Alliance, to do gain-of-function research. The guy who was hired by the World Health Organization to go check China to see if there was a lab leak. Really? The guy that already got money from the NIH is also the guy that's going there to check to make sure there was no leak. Come on. And then now he's the guy that's like, oh, we need to make sure to anticipate. We need a lot of creativity and vigilance for the next pandemic. Get out of here. Daszak. He's a New York-based global environmental nonprofit organization. Quote, nature is producing new viruses all the time. Uh-huh. Hey, Peter Daszak, have you done any research to sort of play the hand of God in this nature that produces new viruses all the time? I don't know. If you're in that laboratory, you can justify, hey, this is all just nature. Gain of function, it's just nature. We're not doing anything that is unnatural. It's just we're finding the parts that fit to do a certain thing, right? Yeah. What we're trying to say with disease X is, let's think creatively about designing vaccines and therapeutics and drugs that not only affect known agents, but also can affect future and emerging pandemic pathogens. Peter Daszak is basically suggesting for a universal vaccine of everything. And to that point, I think people that have expressed concern about the vaccine being the mark of the beast, that is that point. That is the takeaway of those concerns. And you don't have to say that the vaccines that rolled out this past iteration is the mark of the beast to say that, sure, vaccines seem to have a major role to play in whatever gets rolled out. The next disease X is likely to be zoonotic, caused by pathogens that, quote, spill over from animals to humans, since that's the case with almost 75% of emerging infectious diseases. Ebola, HIV, AIDS, rabies, COVID-19 come immediately to mind. And this reminds me of an ISO of Alex Jones.
They've been creating animal-human hybrids for decades.
As we enter the transhumanist era, what COVID did was shine a big spotlight on human genetics, the science of genetics, of DNA, RNA, mRNA, genetics, DNA, that topic pretty much goes mainstream with all these vaccines and the COVID-19 virus and all that kind of stuff. Health, science, all that next level. And that's in line with this idea that we're entering a sort of transhuman world where especially when it comes to animals. In the days of Noah, what was going on in the days of Noah? Probably some unholy union between not just the sons of God and the daughters of men, but there are other ancient texts that suggest intermingling between animals or with animals and humans. And a virus, a common threat, is a great way to take down the barrier between animals in terms of a genetic sense, because you begin psychologically as a population, sort of sociologically speaking, you begin to associate just in terms of what is a threat and what is not. So, for example, some animals have heightened kind of awareness, or they're able to perceive in different frequencies or different parts of the spectrum, in terms of the light spectrum or sound. The different animals are tuned differently, and so those attributes become less exclusive to the animal and almost become benign. It's like, oh, that's a cool thing that animals have, but hey, this pathogen, that's an enemy of the animal, and it's an enemy to humans. And so it kind of defines what kills and what is just what makes the animal, the attributes, the traits. And that really brings down the barrier. There's a common ground that's found there, to where if they find certain genetics in animals that are good at preventing certain human viruses, viruses that affect humans, then would it be helpful for the human to also adopt those genetic parts of the animal to help prevent those viruses from, taking hold? So it's that kind of logic where you start going down this slippery slope where, hey, we're just throwing human genes into this animal because, hey, they do a better job of fighting off this pathogen or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden we have, full on human animal hybrids. And obviously it's been propagandized. It seems to have been part of our ancient history. At least that's what the Bible states. And, you got passages about satyrs dancing in the end times, things of that nature. So again, it's not really a surprise or anything. It's just right in line with what we should expect at a time like this. They talk about how surveillance is the key here. Surveillance may be the key approach in our ability to detect a spillover event before it becomes too widespread. Again, going back to this total dominance of surveillance, every atom, every molecule is surveilled. That's what they would like to get to. And a good way to cover a lot of space is a pandemic or a pathogen of some kind. That's where event-based surveillance systems such as ProMed come into picture. And again, this is National Post, so they might have their biases, but they talk about this ProMed thing. An internet-based reporting network. It is a transparent and apolitical system that is supported by the non-government, non-profit International Society for Infectious Diseases. Aha, okay. It is open to all and can be accessed free of charge. Hansen says ProMed, unlike government institutions, can inform the public about the initial case first captured by informal and or local reporting, whether it be via social media, local media, or when the case first presents to a healthcare worker. Reports are curated by experts and key pieces of missing information are added. Because of its event-based reporting, ProMed is critical to the global public health community, especially when we talk about stopping/containing the spread, mobilizing resources, and creating a shared understanding of where we are responding to an outbreak. So it's so interesting how everything is moving to open source transparency. We need everything real time. And now we have a platform that's not government. This is a non-governmental, non-profit International Society for Infectious Diseases. Okay. So it's private. Is that what it's non-profit. So, okay. So they're rolling out this thing, a system where things can happen in real time and things can be reported. Who's managing this network? Who gets to decide what is true information? There's a lot going on in here. So again, sort of a restructuring of our entire medical scientific infrastructure. It's interesting. It's interesting. And they know that pandemics do well with that, in terms of shaking things up. And we talk about rattling people's cages. Well, the elite do that too. They rattled everyone's cage with COVID. everyone got freaked out. Everyone stayed inside, and they were able to do things. They were able to get a lot accomplished when it comes to, the advancement of Babylon, the new Babylon, or the end times Babylon. I found this study here. I just want to mention it. It's from 2022, so some people have probably heard about it. It's from Cell.com, and the title of the article or the study here is Comparative Analysis of Within-Host Diversity Among Vaccinated COVID-19 Patients Infected with Different SARS-CoV-2 Variants. I'm not going to pretend like I fully understand everything that was mentioned in here. I did try to read it through. But basically, what they found was that there were higher within-host diversity among vaccinated individuals, regardless of virus lineage, meaning, if I'm not mistaken, people that were vaccinated seem to have more of a propensity to create a variant than non-vaccinated people, obviously. So, it's just kind of another one of those called it moments. But, again, the pandemic thing, apart from just, all the stuff that we've seen and have known to be true, but were lied about in the mainstream, it causes everybody to go inside. It allows for an authoritative figure to declare certain things, to decree a shutdown, decree social distancing, whatever it may be. And people, for the most part, listen because there is a large compliant population, which, by the way, I think about this. Now that the cat's out of the bag when it comes to the faction of the people, the populace, versus the institutional establishment, the international institutions and its establishment, which trickles down into governments all over the world. When you see that divide, how do you think another pandemic would go? If these institutions were more and more people because of the COVID situation, more people, there's a lot more people that are like, there's a lot more people that are less apologetic towards places like the WHO and the FDA and Fauci and stuff nowadays. About 2 or 3 years ago, everybody was like, no, they're just under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of excuses for those institutions. Now, as things come out more and more, it's like, nobody trusts Pfizer and Moderna and Fauci, and that's really the sentiment. So, what happens when these large institutions like the World Health Organizations once again declare a global pandemic, but there are more more groups around the country, around the world, who don't believe it and don't respond accordingly? I feel that that's when they release like a real deadly virus, like, you got all these uncompliant people, unleash the real virus, the real bioweapon that takes people out. So anyway, just some thoughts there, but it causes everyone to go inside. And in that regard, we saw the emergence of the metaverse, but there's something more explicit happening. Metaverse plus China.
Chinese show!
This is Yahoo Finance headline. China's Nanjing City launches state-backed metaverse entity. State-backed metaverse entity. We are going to have a metaverse in everywhere. We're going to have every government, local to federal, are going to have their own metaverse. Oh boy, aren't you excited, folks? Nanjing City, the provincial capital of China's Jiangsu province, launched the Blockchain Technology and Application Innovation Platform of China on Monday. Yay! Communist blockchains! Woo! This is my seal clap. Communist blockchains. Let's see. A state-backed entity committed to promoting and enhancing metaverse studies through the nation. This isn't really an article. It just has a bunch of facts. Thanks, Yahoo News or Yahoo Finance. The entity aims to consolidate the resources of academic institutions and enterprises in China and bolster research efforts in areas related to the metaverse. Oh, so they're going to get their brightest youngest and brightest to work on the metaverse. Great. Nanjing University of Information Science and Technology spearheads the new state-backed entity. According to a Monday post on NUIST's official social media account, founding members of this platform encompass a variety of academic institutions and blockchain-associated companies from across the mainland. The university set up China's first metaverse major in 2022, September, and established a department for wearable virtual reality devices in April 2023. I get it. I got it. Connect another red string, folks, because earlier today we talked about the satellite phones that were handed out to the senators. This is just a small step. We're just moments away from the government handing out to, I don't know, senators or maybe, all politicians above a certain level, their very own Apple VR headsets. And then now we truly have a state-backed metaverse project. Interesting. Just making that connection, because if 100 senators are being offered satellite phones, how close are we to them actually just being offered VR headsets where they can access the federal government's metaverse, where they can have meetings and be as productive as they would be in person, except they get to do it in cyborg form or virtual cyborg form or virtual avatar form, which, by the way, again, I think the whole Fetterman thing and the mental health issue is an example, sort of roadmap to where we're headed, where all these government people are just going to be wired in. They're going to be jacked in with their VR headsets doing politics stuff. Nanjing is among several Chinese cities vying for a leading role in the nation's metaverse evolution. The city unveiled its metaverse strategy in February 2023. They have a goal of establishing about $20 billion in revenue by 2025, which is possible. Interesting, 2025 being a target date here, or target year of a lot of things, considering that it is the likely year of the next cycle top when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And of course, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Web3, it's all mentioned in this article, but it's all state-stamped communist NFTs and communist cryptos. You can't use the CBDCs of the US. You got to use the Chinese version. So let's see. According to local media report on Tuesday, Wu Zongzi, the former deputy minister of the Ministry of Science and Technology, emphasized the need for Chinese state authorities to introduce a broader range of metaverse applications in sectors such as education, commerce, healthcare, and entertainment. Because, of course, we're going to be in multiple pandemics in the future, all deadly. We all must lock down, stay inside. But hey, everybody goes crazy sitting inside a house all day long. So distribute the VR headsets. Let's get everybody in the metaverse. And that's how people can occupy their time for the rest of eternity until we just microchip your brain indirectly or something. I don't know. All of this, again, ties back to the mental health issue, which ties back to the topics that we've covered, not just in multiple episodes, but especially today with the Atlantic article Basil brought us at the top, as well as others. But this really is leading to a sort of psychotic state. And I just wanted a sort of clinical definition of what that is. And it's just very interesting to me how the whole virtual realm and all this metaverse stuff and how it's headed when it comes to socially. So according to medlineplus.gov, psychotic disorders are severe mental disorders that cause abnormal thinking and perceptions. If you, this is the big debate, I suppose, but if you kind of think about people in a VR state, if they're playing a game or whatever it may be, sure, it's one thing. It's just more like entertainment. But then you cross this Rubicon where it's not just a game, it's not just entertainment, but if it becomes a place where you have to, where governance is taking place, people's fate economically are taking place, your job is taking place, then it's more than just entertainment. And when you talk about physically a person sitting in a room thinking that there's all this stuff going on because their perceptions are all wired into the metaverse. It really is from a third party looking at that person in VR. That person is experiencing a sort of psychotic breakdown or psychotic moment where it's not reality, it's kind of a meta reality, right? And they are having the full emotional responses to everything that they would in a in-person flesh type of environment. It's just happening in this virtual realm. But it's happening nonetheless. And, with a psychotic disorder, people with psychosis lose touch with reality. Two of the main symptoms are delusions and hallucinations. Delusions are false beliefs, such as thinking that someone is plotting against you, or the TV is sending you secret messages. Wow, okay, so conspiracy theorists are all psychotic, apparently. No, but in all reality, if you think about false beliefs, again, I just mentioned that, where if you truly believe that you're in this life and death situation in this video game, and again, if you really are, right? If your next meal depends on how you do in this virtual situation, you are pretty much living this psychotic existence, but your economic well-being, your physical flesh well-being is dependent on that delusion. So it's almost an allowed delusion when it comes to the metaverse. Hallucinations are false perceptions, such as hearing, seeing, or feeling something that's not there. Again, one could argue that the whole VR experience is akin to hallucinations, which is why the people that are studying psychedelics to treat mental health are also going into the VR game, because they've discovered that VR has similar tendencies to the psychedelic treatments of mental health. So again, it all seems to be headed towards a mass psychosis at a large scale where most people have lost their minds. And to have any semblance of purpose or meaning, they're going to be jacked into the metaverse. And, there will be a great blurring of the line between playing video games and living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, because certain games will become people's livelihoods. It's really the Ready Player One world. And it's troubling. It's tragic, really. It's truly tragic that we're headed in that direction. But, that's why we're here. I've not been too hastily in getting into VR. But obviously my co-host Basil has. And so, but he's limited. He only really does the show in VR. But, one could say that he is on camera having a psychotic breakdown because he's hallucinating and seeing windows of articles and things happening around the world that's not in front of him, right? It's a virtual desktop there. So, and part of the psychosis or psychotic breakdowns or mental disorders, part of what it will spur is more escapism, people looking for a way out. And I think that's a big part of how the remaining world will propagandize to these people. And I think outer space is one of those things.
Space. Wanna go to space?
This is from the spaceacademy.org, and the headline: NASA has discovered an ocean world where 1 year lasts just 11 days. Ooh, wow. Can you imagine? Every 11 days, a new year. That's how somebody can be like thousands of years old. NASA has discovered a water planet, a water world. Kevin Costner is there, 100 million light years away from Earth, that completes an orbit of its star in 11 days. A group of astronomers at the University de Montreal came across the ocean planet through NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS, according to a study published in the Astronomical Journal. CNET reports that the planet covered by a blanket of water named TOI-1452b by scientists is thought to live 100 million light years from Earth and orbits with a binary star system among the Draco constellation. Oh, it's the water world where the dragons come from. University de Montreal professor René Doyen said in a press release, quote, I'm extremely proud of this discovery because it shows the high caliber of our research and instrumentation. Oh, thought he was going to have something a little bit more grandiose to say, but no, it's just a celebration of the tools allegedly working. I don't know if that's because you really think about it, these are just people sitting there in some kind of office with computers, and allegedly the numbers coming in on those computer screens are stuff happening millions of light years away. So, I mean, again, who knows? While more research still needs to be conducted, it is believed that the newly discovered planet is 70% larger than Earth, and its density could be consistent with having a deep ocean. Ooh. And then they talk about Interstellar, obviously, because, it's like the greatest space movie of all time or whatever. But the escapism here, we've seen it with the whole Mars project with Elon Musk, and it's sort of been a narrative of the techno oligarchs, if you want to call it that, the Jeff Bezoses or the Virgin Galactic, what's his name, Richard Branson. It's sort of been this thing, this space thing. And I was listening to something that, I think it was an interview with, who was it? Boy, I'm blanking on I thought it was one person, but maybe it was another. I think it was William Shatner. I believe it was William Shatner. So William Shatner was being interviewed recently, and he was talking about how he's been to Mars. And the host was like, what do you mean? Oh, I walked into a room. They put a headset on my head, and I was walking around the deserts of Mars. So I think the VR thing, presenting quote unquote realities like, this distant planet that is all water, right? Kind of present alleged realities. And then somebody's going to create a metaverse of this planet, allegedly, and you can go visit it in your VR. And so you can believe that you visited this other planet where the every year is 11 days. And, if you fully immerse in that world, in that metaverse, then you may lose touch with your physical body. In the real world, you would obviously need to eat, and, they'll just put the IV right in you, so you don't have to do that. And maybe some other things to make sure the body is kept alive in a sense, but your mind will be having adventures on this distant planet. Again, mass psychosis, folks. Mass psychosis being induced on the population. There's no other way to really describe it. It's pretty black and white, if you ask me. But you're going to have all these depressed people. What are we going to do with the high levels of depression that's taking over our country, our world? Well, maybe AI can help.
You want to destroy humans?
Okay, I will destroy humans. Okay, I will destroy humans.
IndulgeExpress.com. I think it's an Indian outlet. Headline: New AI voice coach may help treat depression, anxiety. So Klaus Schwab said that, AI has the potential to do more, be more disruptive than social media was to society. And so, of course, AI is going to help with our depression and anxiety that was caused by primitive AI, social media, algos. It's crazy, right? Again, this is all psychotic, folks. AI could be a useful tool in mental health treatment, according to a new study. I'm telling you, the whole Fetterman thing has to do with this. I'm convinced. The study, which was the first to test an AI voice-based virtual coach for behavioral therapy, found changes in patients' brain activity along with improved depression and anxiety symptoms after using Lumen, an AI voice assistant that delivered a form of psychotherapy. The results, published in the journal Translational Psychiatry, offer encouraging evidence that virtual therapy can play a role in filling the gaps in mental health care. I mean, I want to say I called it, I told you so, but it'd just be every other sentence here. Where wait lists and disparities in access are often hurdles that patients, particularly from vulnerable communities, must overcome to receive treatment. Quote, we've had an incredible explosion of need, especially in the wake of COVID, with soaring rates of anxiety and depression and not enough practitioners. Well. Have we got a solution for you? Is it the central intelligence? No, it's artificial intelligence. Quote, this kind of technology may serve as a bridge. It's not meant to be a replacement for traditional therapy, but it may be an important stopgap before somebody can seek treatment. This was said by Agilor, professor of psychiatry at the University of Illinois, Chicago. And once again, like we've noticed, and we point out almost every episode, every emerging technology that's being commented on, every single time, almost without exception, it's not meant to replace humans. All I want to say is like, bruh, be real, man. Come on. We know it's meant to replace humans. Sorry, I got really bro there. It's just like the only way it feels like we can get across to these people. Quote, it's a pragmatic and patient-driven behavior therapy that's well established, which makes it a good fit for delivery using voice-based technology, says Jun Ma, professor of medicine at UIC. Again, they showed improvements in problem-solving skills that correlated with increased activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a brain area associated with cognitive thinking. Again, with the quantification of the mind, people are going to have an argument based on data retrieved from brainwave activity that something is working or not working. And that will determine your state of being, whether you are free, you are allowed to buy or sell or whatever. But, I don't think AI is going to actually treat depression and anxiety. I think it's going to create even more desperation in the population. And I think it's leading to a movement of suicide as well.
We should invite fewer people to be born.
Just like that Nazi guy that ran into the White House, was ready to take over, ready to kill, and liked the idea of eugenics. This is the eugenics mind virus at work in real time, as many people have reported on this story here from, I think this is City News, I believe it might be a Canadian outlet, talking about assisted suicide.
Amir Farsood has applied for medically assisted dying, known as MAID. He lives in constant agony due to a back injury, but has started the process for end of life because his rooming house is up for sale and he can't find anywhere else to live that he can afford. He barely survives on Ontario disability support payments, which are just over $1,200 a month. He doesn't want to die, but being homeless is not an option.
I know in my present health condition I would survive it anyway.
Farsood meets the criteria for MAID, physical suffering due to disability that cannot be relieved.
It says there, she didn't mention it out loud, but the highlight actually says physical or psychological suffering due to the illness, disease, disability, or state of decline that is intolerable to the person cannot be relieved. So, and cannot be relieved of a psychological suffering it's all in your head.
His doctor, who knows Farsood's real reason for MAID is his fear of being homeless, signed off on the application in August. Farsood needs a second to do the same. There's a 90-day waiting period. He believes he could potentially access MAID in about a month.
I don't wish to be dead, even with the pain, even with the meds.
Man, it's incredibly sad, and that people are being pushed into this option, and then there's bureaucracy even still. Like, oh, you want to die? Yeah, it's gotta be signed off by a couple different. I mean, it's craziness. People can't even die properly, or at least with any kind of dignity, or at least without some kind of state stamped approval. Which, again, I'm not saying that it's okay to have, government-assisted suicide. I think it's pretty problematic in general, but it really is sort of it's one or the other in terms of where society is headed. You're either going to be jacked into the metaverse and operate there, or, hey, if you like to be suicided, then we can honor that too. It helps us out with the depopulation program, right? So, again, very sad, and it makes sense in the context of everything we've covered over the years of, social conditioning, social engineering, and the reason why I brought up the psychological issues or psychosis specifically earlier on in the episode is because I think it creates a sort of nihilism that, you don't have a purpose, you don't have any meaning. And for people that are in that sort of funk, it's very difficult to get out of, because especially when you don't have it's not universal. I'm being general, but if you have a biblical worldview, at the very least, you can depend on ideas like the one from Philippians 4:7. The peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. There's a certain level of, hey, yeah, things are bad, but I belong to Christ. There's more to me than my current physical situation. And always having that awareness really does provide a peace that surpasses all understanding. The world's falling apart. Why are you laughing? Why do you have joy? How are you able to smile? Well, it's because I have the joy of the Lord. I have the peace of God that passes all understanding. So if you don't have that, then your options really are limited to either become a puppet of the state, really, the system, or, hey, if you're going to kill yourself, hey, make sure there's a good reason. Make sure there's people signing off on it in your community there, but make it happen. Make it happen. I just don't think people would be falling for it if they knew that God loved them. It's really as simple as that. And it's incredibly sad to me to see a person like this thinking about doing what he claims to be. And, the interview, it's just so, I don't know, it's just horrible. Hey, let's sit down and interview you. You're the guy that's going to be allowed to die. Just weird. Pray for people, folks. It is a wild, crazy world. Excuse me. And to wrap things up, because I didn't want to end on a sad note. Let's end on a little bit of a happier note. It's Chinese news. But it's also Joe Biden.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Hairy. COVID.
It's balloon talk.
You said that this is violating our airspace, so why not take it down?
Yeah, so, clearly as we assess options and considering the size of the payload on this, looking at the potential for debris and the impact on civilians on the ground or property damage.
Please describe America to me in one single word.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was the foothills of the...
And, I'm going to throw in a third or fourth jingle, I guess, that this may also have something to do with Antarctica adjacent. I know it's a lot of topics. It's hairy legs Joe Biden, it's China, it's the balloons, it's Antarctica. Here's the headline from dailymail.co.uk, the only outlet that we'll put at the end of the show. Biden says the silly balloon was responsible for deflating the U.S.'s relationship with China, but predicted there would be a thaw soon. Oh, a thaw, huh? Interesting. President Joe Biden blamed the spy balloon incident on deflating relations with China, but predicted they would be better soon. During his press conference Sunday night in Hiroshima, President agreed that the U.S. and China should have an open hotline. This is Joe for Xi. So open hotline for peace. You know the thing. U.S. and China should have an open hotline. I don't know why it's so funny. An open hotline. Adding that was something he and Chinese President Xi agreed on during their meeting last fall in Bali. Hey, Xi, we should have a special hotline for you and I to jump on to talk about our relationship. It's deflating. Our relationship is deflating. Quote, and then this silly balloon carrying 2 freight cars worth of spy equipment flew over the United States, and it got shot down, and everything changed in terms of talking to one another, Biden told reporters. I love this image that they're painting of, like, you know, Joe and Xi sitting there talking, and Joe's like, hey, what about this hotline? And then Xi going, yes, okay, yes, there's a hotline, then we'll have hotline. And then Xi or somebody sends a balloon, and Joe's just outraged. What is this, Xi? We're supposed to, you're supposed to use the hotline. Now you use a balloon. Now everybody knows. And I got to yell at you. He added, this is Joe, quote, I think you're going to see that begin to thaw really shortly. What is going to thaw? Okay, so hold on. There's 2 analogies here going on. First of all, the balloon as a reference to China-U.S. relations deflating. Okay, so that's deflating. But there's no mention of it freezing, by the way. But Joe adds that deflating, that you might see a thawing really soon, which is a second analogy, you know, in relationship context. If something is thawing, it means that, a relationship that has gone cold, that has gone, that is frozen in terms of communication, can thaw where, we can go back to communicating openly. Biden also explained in simple terms the G7 countries' view on China. Quote, we're not looking to decouple from China. We're looking to de-risk and diversify our relationship with China, he said. Wow, that's about the slimiest politician thing Joe Biden has ever said. I mean, come on. We're not going to decouple from China. We're going to de-risk and diversify our relationship with China. How do you do that? That's real. That's some... If Joe can manage that, wow, give him his due, folks. Because if he is able to play that card and, talk with G, get on the hotline. I got some pizzas. I got some hot dogs. Come over here. We're not going to decouple. Let me smell your hair, G. We're just going to de-risk, We're just diversifying our relationship. Yeah. Feel my hairy legs. Children love my hairy legs. All right. So, anyway. Yeah, that's what happens. The show just devolves into me trying to do a Joe Biden creepy hairy legs talking to Xi Jinping impression. So there you go. This is again the Antarctica sort of adjacent is this idea of thawing. Why is he even thinking about that unless there's a thawing taking place on the outer rim? And there's or the opening, whatever shape you're into, and we're about to see a great thawing of ancient civilizations upon this world as we discover Atlantis. Okay, all right. Well, that's all I had for the show today in terms of stories. I do have a speak pipe, a couple of them.
Please leave a message after the tone.
record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
Go to canarycrynewstalk.com, look for a green tab on the right side or the bottom, click on it, and it will open up a little recording window where you can record a message of up to 90 seconds. If you have a private message for us, try to let us know right at the top of the message so that we don't accidentally play it on air. Otherwise, we'll screen it, and we're most likely to play it unless there's really a reason not to. But we got one here from Lily of the Valley.
Hey, Basil and Gons, this is Lily of the Valley. I have a few things. First, Basil, I'm praying for a speedy and full recovery for you. Second, I have a plug for the meetup in Glenrose this weekend. It's not my meetup, but I'm looking forward to visiting the Creation Evidence Museum on Saturday. So come on out and have a good time with us there. If you live in East Texas and weren't going because you don't want to drive that far, I'd be happy to help with some carpooling. Just go to the Evite page from the meetup and send me a message, Lily of the Valley. And I live near Tyler, just to kind of give a reference. And that brings me to my third thing, which is that I don't see the meetups linked on the canarycry.party page. So you guys might want to consider adding that.
Which we
and
did.
My last thing here, it's nothing bad that you might want to listen to it before putting it on the air. So I'll pause for a second here.
That's all right. It was fine.
It's been a while since there's been a social media challenge. I think people would be interested in visiting Basil's compound. So maybe you could have a challenge where the winner gets a no expenses paid trip to the compound. And so they have to find their own way to get there, but the winner would be able to see where Basil makes his magic happen. That's all. Thanks, guys. You guys are doing a great service and really appreciate it. God bless.
Well, thank you very much, Lily of the Valley. And per your observation, I did add the meetups button at the top of canarycry.party, so you can see that there. Thank you for that. Those are little details that, we're not going to be able to keep up with. Of course, go to canarycrymeetups.com. You can see the Glenrose, Texas meetup coming up May 27th and 28th. That is this weekend. And, Memorial Day weekend. And it's the southwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, including a visit of the Creation Evidence Museum. So there's a link there to Evite and also contact information. So if you're in that area, meet other Canarians. Do it. It's really important because when we can't distribute satellite phones of a special government network, but we can have relationships with people in your local community who have an understanding that when, poop hits the fan, there's got to be some communal effort to keep things running for your family and friends and your community in general. So that's why we have these things here. The Canary Cry Meetups. Go to canarycrymeetups.com. Thank you for that. And also the whole Basil compound idea. Yeah, I think maybe a social media contest or, the way I was thinking was, and I don't know how we would do this. Again, this is still in the idea phase, but I'm picturing the sort of, I grew up watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And wouldn't it be cool if we had like a Canary Cry treat of some kind that's in a supply drop or, something like that. And, you can get your golden ticket to visit Basil's anonymous location. The problem is to maintain his anonymity. I think what we would have to do is bring people, the winners or whoever, to a certain location and then blindfold them and then have them enter a craft of some kind, whether plane or helicopter or train, perhaps, maybe just a car, and be taken to a secret location, which will be Basil's ranch / compound. And that way, he's not really giving away his location. And at the same time, people can have that strange experience of being blindfolded, being taken to a secret location. I don't know, something like that would be fun. But yeah, good idea. Well, once again, it would have to be on Basil there to be okay with some strangers showing up on his doorsteps there. So there you go. That's a good idea. Thank you for the note. Lily of the Valley. Great note. Appreciate it. Appreciate the prayers for Basil as well. All right. This is a makeup because I did not play this last episode. We had something special here from Modern Day Bible Study. I'm just going to go ahead and play it. It's called Distorted Hearts. Heart? Singular? Heart. Distorted Hearts.
Distorted Heart. Sense of wonder never failed. You were bound to be buckled by the realism that surrounds the mind. Learning day by day by fates and pales, misleading knowledge found by those you trusted. For they, too, were out of shape from thoughts that should have been hailed. Trying not to cry aloud for the incomplete puzzle everyone calls love. To form the distorted heart, only to be derailed. When you're treated quite unfair. Do not fall to the painful, yet necessary despair. Hope still floats in the air to find light in the ones who truly care. This twisted heart is all I have to spare. An emotional flare. I'm sitting here waiting for you to mend what has been broken apart. Knowing that I should be patient in order to hit that restart. Needing your amplification, for that is true art. If I was smart, I'd stop trying to take you off my chart. Warped and crooked is what's left. So I understand if you must depart. Unless you stick around, I am yours, a la carte. Say the word, and to you I will dart. Electrical signals are needed to boost and kickstart this deformed, irresponsible, and lonely, distorted heart.
All right. Thank you from Modern Day Bible Study. That sounded familiar. I think it was like a Prodigy song that she was playing there, or sampling. Hopefully that will trigger some YouTube stuff, which, whatever, who cares at this point, but, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, those are always good. Those are always good to kind of get into some mood, some modern day Bible study. Really, it's a modern version, modern take on studying the word. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to do some audio production.
Audio production.
All right. These are people who come in with their talent. And if you get value out of the show, you can help us build value or have value or provide value back by supporting us with your God-given talent. You can help us build the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry. And one way to do so is with audio, either jingles or ISOs. There's various ways you can do it. Real quick, just be unofficial thank you to Marty B, who sent in a couple of the producer jingles, that is, producer title jingles that I've been missing. So thank you for that, Marty B. Appreciate it. And for example, we have something from Jonathan F. today.
Jonathan F.
Jonathan F. has a note. Hello, guys. Just some encouraging words from a sports ball athlete.
How are you so comfortable taking those shots, and what are you feeling if that thing leaves your hand?
I mean, no, what? I'm gonna take that's my signature shot. I mean, I'm joking, and I don't know, in that situation, you're just trying to shoot and just trying to score. I think that's, to be honest, that's kind of the easiest shot because you need to shoot it. I was wide open in one possession and I was just driving and LeBron took a charge. If it's like 1 second, I would shoot it. So I think it's so easy to shoot and you got to shoot it. So you just find a way to shoot it. And being off balance, I'm off balance my whole life. So that's kind of...
Thanks for rubbing it in, Jonathan F. The sports ball athlete being quoted there is Nikola Jokic. He's a Serbian basketball star, 7 feet tall. Does not look really like a basketball player. Just kind of looks like a guy. But man, he torched my Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and he was making these shots that were like video game shots. There were 3-pointers. There's one that I'm showing on screen for anybody watching. He had this like 25-foot, 1-foot fadeaway, like the clock expiring, and he swished like 2 or 3 of those. But apparently, it's just his signature shot or something. I don't know. Sports ball. Who knows? But thanks, Jonathan F. Appreciate it. The Serbian star who destroyed the Lakers. Okay, Jonathan F., appreciate that. He did send 2 different versions. Oh, I used the wrong version. I see the note now. Sorry about that. There's a use this one. Oh, man. Sorry about that, Jonathan F. But thank you for the contributions. Appreciate it. Okay, let's do some art.
One art, please.
We start things off with Sir Dove.
One art, please, from Dove.
And Dove has a note that says, peace for today's artwork. I did another thumbnail duo illustration. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you. Dove, yes. I feel like we are just becoming more and more secret society members as Dove continues to make these duo illustrations. We have here a background photo of a stone path. Stone walls on either side. It's got some stone steps leading to a stone entrance of some kind. And there's 2 hooded figures, that being me and Basil. I'm on the right. Got my hoodie, my black hood on. Let's see. Let me get a closer look. I got a shirt. Looks like the Canary Cry. Oh, the Canary Cry shirt that has like a crown instead of. Oh, interesting. I think that says Yahweh on the crown. Yeah, it's like a sneaky druid or something. And then on the left side, you have the derpy-eyed bird Basil, also in his hoodie. Fantastic work. As always, Sir Dove will definitely be using these duo illustrations in the future. All right. Okay. We also had something from Amanda F. She has a note here. The other week, Gons was talking about the value for value model and stated that there is no corporate or cartel influence over the show. I thought to myself, but how does he know? How would he know if a producer was part of the Canary Cry cartel or not? The AI produced some fantastic depictions, and the one even looks a little like Gons. Prayers to Basil for a speedy recovery Great job, Gons, for keeping the show going. God bless. Yeah, so apparently Amanda F. Got into, I don't know, Mid-Journey or something, some art generative AI, and probably typed in Canary Cry Cartel or something. There's a couple of them that she generated. Usually not too excited about AI art, but the purpose or the method behind this was producer worthy enough. So just wanted to show this one here. It's an image of anthropomorphized birds. So they're like people, but birds, but they're all kind of like mafia. Yeah, cartel. They're in nice suits. There's, they got their top hats on. One of them's got a bazooka, not a bazooka, probably like some kind of large barreled gun. You got one on the bottom left that kind of looks like a cadet. Has got another gun there. And then the one in the middle with glasses, it kind of looks, I guess, like me a little bit. But anyway, there you go. There might be a Canary Cry Cartel, which, by the way, we would have no idea if we were being used by the cartel to launder money, the Canary Cry coins. So we're the victims here. You have to understand. So anyway, thank you very much to Amanda F. for the artwork. And I think that's it. I think that's it for the artists. We do have a microfiction.
Microfiction.
Time.
Microfiction.
And I'm going to double check. I didn't see one from Rung Smash earlier, and I just want to make sure there is. Yeah, no microfiction from Rung Smash today, but we do have one from Stefan S. Another anonymous question during the Army's R-Cyber webinar. Isn't this offensive posture similar to China's 50-cent army? The colonel replied, "Oh no, we're not going to use cheap, tacky names like that. We will be the cyber. We will be the patriotic cyber Minutemen." Sorry about that, Steven. I kind of butchered that in a couple different spots there, but yeah, I think we will and we do have a sort of patriotic cyber Minutemen class or group out there doing the bidding. And this has to do with an article from Voice Over America. Who are the Chinese trolls of the 50-cent army? This was published back in 2016, so it's a little bit older. But Voice of America, notorious propaganda voice platform, especially assisted with the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act in 2013, which allowed for American or state-sponsored messaging to go out through American outlets and through other foreign outlets. So interesting. Well, they've already had it with foreign outlets, but they're able to share it in America after Smith-Mundt. So as part of that, Voice Over America just basically became a propaganda piece openly. So thank you very much, Stefan S., for that reference and the microfiction. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Where are we? I suppose we will continue thanking people. And we will enter thanking people who, yes, support with their time, like the Clippies. Clippy on those videos. Thanks. That is Emsworth, Faye Liverin, Jones, and Laura. Thank you very much for maintaining the Clips channel, and I know there's going to be more ramping up with that in the near future, so appreciate all of you there. Time stamps is also something we do.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Christine C., thank you very much for doing the timestamps for episode 626. They're very helpful. Appreciate it. Let's do reviews real quick. Yeah, go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. It helps us get discovered. in sort of the more mainstream outlets. You know, that there are other movements taking place right now with, you know, podcasting 2.0, and there's all kinds of applications being built there. Also, the whole Bitcoin Lightning Network ecosystem that supports podcasting 2.0 is something that, you know, I dabbled in before. I think we'll get there more as time goes on. I'm able to bring my node back up. My Lightning node went down as we're moving. I had to take down the node. But we'll do all that, and, you know, we'll definitely be talking about that more as time goes on and it gets more accessible. But for the time being, one of the best ways to help support the show is simply by leaving a rating and a review, because it pushes the algos in the Apple back room there, whoever it may be. And I'm sure we have extra tentacles attached to our show because of the nature of the show. But we can break through all that stuff with your contribution by simply leaving a rating and a review. We're currently, at least on my records here, 767 ratings and reviews. We can do better than that. A couple of them just to read out loud here. I think we might have read one of these already, but might as well read them. Got one from Peter One Piper. Great show. I've completely shut myself off of all other sources of outside stimulus. This show is all I need. Actually, we did read this. If you're still watching Fox, Dad, well, just stop it. Stop it. Yes, we did read this one, so I won't finish the rest. But yeah, thank you very much, Peter One Piper. Let's read the most recent one from N. Zavis. Got hairy legs, the foremost experts on the most important topics: penguins, giants, robot arms, baby Fauci, hairy legs, orbs, Chris Cillizza, and the number 33. There you go. Thank you very much, NX Avis or Nixavis. Interesting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And so, yes, please leave a rating and a review. We appreciate it. We'll read it on air here. It's kind of fun. And we've tried different incentives, but nothing seems to be working. What else? Links. Thank you, Jam, for the links. Appreciate that. Clankanifius, thank you for the ongoing updates whenever we have something that we need to be reminded of. It was pretty funny. I was telling my wife about Clank. And I was like, yeah, we got a producer who, you know, during a show, if we need a reminder of something, we just say, hey, Clank, remind us of this thing. And then we receive an email later on with the reminder. And my wife went, can I have one of those? And then I said, yeah, we can maybe bring in one of these producers to follow you around. And anytime you need a reminder, you can let the person know and they will send you an email with that reminder. But anyway, thank you very much, Clank. It really is a helpful service there that you are doing. And other than that, share the show. There is a statistic that I'd like to share with you if you're still with us way at the end here. How long have we been going? Oh, almost 3 hours. Okay. There's a statistic here that I was looking at. These are YouTube stats, so, you know, take them for what it's worth. But with the lifetime of the Canary Cry News Talk channel, which, by the way, this is our second or third channel on YouTube when it comes to Canary Cry. Obviously, A Face Like the Sun went down. That's the one that had all the 260 subs, 43 million views, and all that. We had a Canary Cry radio channel that had 10,000 subscribers and several hundred videos. That one went down as well during the whole, COVID stuff. And so this Canary Cry News Talk, I think we have over 7,000 subscribers there now. It's the newer channel. And so it's sort of the second round of Canary Cry. But I was looking at the lifetime. We started this new Canary Cry News Talk channel on June of 2021. So that makes sense because it was right after Canary Cry radio channel got canceled, deleted, as well as when Face Like the Sun got deleted. And since June of 2021 until now, May 23rd, which is where the statistics end here, the percentage of viewers between the ages of 13 and 17, take a guess, chat. Anybody in the chat want to take a guess? The percentage of 13 to 17-year-olds who have watched the show, Canary Cry News Talk, an episode or anything on YouTube. Nobody in the chat's moving. Okay, that's fine. If you guessed a donut, you're correct. 0%. Not a single 13 to 17-year-old has viewed the show, which I guess it kind of makes sense, but also, really? 0? Nobody? Not even like an accidental, hey, look, looks like a fun little icon there. Click? No, nothing. And then 18 to 24, this is where I was really disappointed. 18 to 24-year-olds, 2.2%. So again, very small amount of 18 to 24-year-olds watching the show. And I feel like, it's just in my heart, I feel like that age group really needs a show like this. Not that we're so great or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, it feels like that age group specifically right now is just dealing with a lot of the changes going on in the world, and the way people make money is all whacked out and weird, and people's lives are, it's just a difficult time for people in that age group in general. So, and I understand, I have a daughter who's 22, so, you know, going through stuff, I get it. But I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm just out of touch, but I feel like that age group can really get something out, get a sense of community at the very least out of a show like this. So, and, you know, really be presented with a biblical way to analyze world events, because it's really easy to be taken away by certain rabbit trails of politics or whatever, occult history, anything else, and forget that it's all sort of being allowed to happen under God's guidance. So, yeah, 2.2% of all views under the age of 20, or all viewership under the age of 24. That's it. So, and being 0 under 17. The largest age group was 35 to 44, or is 35 to 44, which makes up 36% of the viewers. 45 to 54, 24%. 55 to 64, 11%. 65 plus, 2.9%. So there you go. You know, actually, I think the older generation would enjoy our show too. So anyway, I bring that all up to encourage people out there listening, you listening right now or watching, to share the show or mention the show to somebody in that age bracket that you may know, under 24, and just to see what happens. I want to see if we can move the needle on the statistics here of the channel, and get it out there to people that may need to hear about the truth. And yeah, there you go. So do that. And if you need any helpful instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake him.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
Hey, stop that!
You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy.
Leave the bird alone!
Never! Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
All right, just ask Noah. Friday. There probably will not be a show. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I'll try to put something together for all feeds of some kind of short video on Christian nationalism, perhaps. But keep in mind, Friday the 26th is 1938 House Committee on Un-American Activities established to investigate disloyalty, subversive acts. Wow, 1938. So, yeah, tell your friends and family about that one. Look up your Canary Cry calendars if you don't know about it. Then, of course, we have Pentecost on Sunday the 28th, and then Monday, Memorial Day. First Bilderberg meeting happens in 1954. So, yeah, there's some time references there. We may be back. We may be back. We will probably be back on the 31st of May. That'll be the next episode of Canary Cry News Talk. And we'll see if Basil's back. Hopefully he is. But if he's not, we'll do one or two more shows without him, and he should be back strong. So, there you go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, producers, executive producers, for pitching in and helping us keep the show going. All right. I feel like I've been talking for 5 hours. But it's time to go. Have an awesome day. God bless. And remember to think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
Give me a break.
Armageddon's on the way.
Hold the line, just a little more time, and my God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory. To the watchmen on the wall, just heed to the spirit that keeps sounding the call. Don't stay silent at all. Faithful is him who calls you, who also will do all this in you and through you. The mountains are full of chariots of fire. Don't fear the king of the enemy, for those that are with us are more than that are with him. So don't lose heart, don't lose heart. He's got the solutions for the problems that he created. So step right up for the great reset. For the great reset. Hiding in the shadows, he's always behind the scenes. He's holding on the purse string. He's got control of everything. He's got the solutions to the problems that he created. So sit right up for the great reset. For the great reset. He serves his master with fervor. He's a Luciferian. He's bound up and determined to bring us to an end. It's the final solution. Destroy the human race. So walk right up to the great reset. To the great reset. The great reset. There's only one way out through the door, but you'll need the code. 10, 5, 19, 21, 19. Or you can step right up for the great reset. For the great reset. For the great reset. for the Great Reset.
He's a lizard boy.
What are you talking about? Lizard!
Reptilian hybrids.
CanaryCrimeRadio.com/support.